1470 Health and Wealth Radio.
We'll discuss up-to-date health news, give away gifts, share in a laugh or two, and answer health questions from our callers.
So if you are ready to start feeling happy, healthy, and terrific, then tune in to Duke and the Doctor.
Weekday mornings at 10 on WWNN AM 1470.
K&D Home Healthcare and Plantation reminds listeners, what better way to show you care than to remember an elderly family member, friend, or neighbor? Checking on their welfare or even making a phone call can make all the difference in the quality of their lives. This message has been sponsored by K&D Home Healthcare and Plantation, 4330 West Broward Boulevard. Call 583-7077. That's 583-7077. K&D Home Healthcare and Plantation, where they say K&D makes a positive difference.
When it comes to your health, nobody does it better. South Florida's Health and Wealth Radio, AM 1470, WNN.
Here's some great news from Tom Trento, host of the daily WNN Trento Vision Show. Due to the unparalleled success of the Trento Vision Show, you now have an amazing opportunity to advertise on the Trento Vision Show. If you want more information about this excellent opportunity for your business, please contact Tom Trento at 561-319-5533, or you can email him, tom@trentovision.tv. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and trentovision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Okay, here I am, Tom Trento, with a almost full house here. We're missing not CJ. Wait, let me look in our vast studio. Oh, there she is right there. We're not missing CJ. You can say hello. We'll see in a couple of minutes, but not yet. Did you get that? We'll see. We'll see. Two different words. We will visually see CJ, Cheryl Joy. For those of you who are constantly asking, what does CJ mean? It's Cheryl Joy.
Oh, I thought it was Candy Joe.
Oh, Candy Joe. Yeah, that's the nighttime name. That's the nighttime name for CJ. Welcome, Tom Trento here at TrentoVision.tv on the video side. As you know, we simulcast a video signal to the world. I was going to say the free world, but this goes even where people are not free, even where people are in bondage. And you go to any third world country and see a satellite dish, an antenna, an iPhone. At least they have those things. They got bomber phones even in the third world. And on the radio side, it's WNN 1470, WNN 1470 in Boca Raton, Florida. And right now, Mark, who is not with us today. No, Mark is not with us today.
Yes, that's why it's so tidy in the office.
And nothing is falling over.
But he is listening, and my phone is going to start ringing.
Yeah, and nothing is falling over.
Yes.
But he assures me through the latest text that everything, we're 4x4. We have Trento Vision up. You can be watching on TrentoVision.tv. And welcome to our activist partners at TeaPartyCommunity.com. Tim Saletti and Ken Crow's great website community. I mean, organizational community. Jan Morgan's a part of it. We launched Tea Party Community nationally right here in this office, under attack by botnets from all over the world. But we got through it, and we're doing great. We are on the home page of TeaPartyCommunity.com right now. Over 100,000 members and growing daily. I think it may be 110,000 serious activists. So thank you guys for tuning in and watching. In fact, send emails and messages to all your friend list. As I understand, Tea Party Community, unlike Facebook, you can message like all your friends with one shot. Tell them to tune in right now. Say wherever you are, go to Tea Party Community, and they can do it on their iPhones. But you need to be watching the show, particularly this first hour. We have a former high level CIA official who has a fascinating article he published. He and another gentleman published yesterday. And our special guest will be with us in just a couple of minutes. We've Skyped him in so you can get in on the conversation. If you'd like to call in, if that's something you would like to do, and you should, you can talk. We make it here on Trento Vision. We make it available for you to speak to these like top level people.
I can't believe the guests we get.
I know, they're phenomenal.
I'm so impressed.
And you can be just some schmuck in your living room with no life whatsoever. But if you have a phone, we can bring new meaning to your existence.
Oh, that is not nice.
No, you could be. But there's no one that listens like that. No, but I did say the other day that there are a bunch of kind of loser trust fund babies out there that really don't have a life. And they're living in their parents' mansion on Boca Raton or Palm Beach. And they're wondering, how could I have value and purpose in my life? Tom Trento, give us a call. Bring your checkbook. We can bring excitement into your life here at TrentoVision.tv. On the counterterrorism side, we have our website and our organization, the United West. We try to disrupt, disable, destroy the Muslim Brotherhood's operations, all lawfully, legally, in the United States of America. They are the tip of the ideological spear, trying to implement a Sharia-compliant philosophy that's in contradistinction to the U.S. Constitution. So get out of your Ferrari and come on down here, join with us in the fight. You'll never regret it, let me tell you.
That is because we make jihad fun.
We make jihad fun, yes. In our second hour, we have a very controversial guest. Bradley, what's his last name? Bradley Sons of Liberty. He will be calling in, and we're going to show his video again. He's the Christian, I think he's a minister, who was invited on the campus of Spanish River High School, not far from this studio in Boca Raton, a couple of days ago. And he was in an event that was not authorized by the school. It was an on-campus event through the function of what the federal courts have allowed as student clubs, student-run, student-directed clubs. And he was doing a presentation to a student club, I guess a bunch of Christians, and the principal came and threw him off the campus. Clearly a violation of the First Amendment, very similar to our Florida Atlantic University confrontation.
I think high school students have First Amendment rights.
Well, they actually do. The courts have decided in favor of, and we're going to get into that in a second hour. Okay. And also in our second hour, not only is our favorite attorney, Peter Feynman, our favorite attorney, but he will be here in studio right next to you, CJ.
I know. I hope he behaves.
Yes, I know that he gets a little frisky, doesn't he? Well, he's back from Charlotte, North Carolina, as the committee man from the state of Florida to the Republican Party, and we commissioned him to go smack the Republican Party around a little bit and wake them up. We're not interested in Democrat light. We're not interested in a gigantic tent. We're interested in true Republican conservative principles. And we told him, if you don't come back telling us that there's hope in this party, we're going to have to smash things up a little bit and make it exciting for the next 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, I guess Karl Rove wasn't too impressed with what they did in Charlotte.
No,
I
don't think so.
Plan, yeah.
Yeah, he wants to blow up the Tea Party, basically. But right now, everyone knows that wherever there is a terrorist event anywhere on the face of the earth, there's a very good chance that there is one nation that has its fingerprints, its paw prints, its teeth, some bit of itself involved in that terrorist event. Can anybody guess what country that is?
Well, I'm going to guess that it is not the Zionist entity of the Middle East. I'm going to guess it's Iran.
Oh, okay. We'll take that as a yes. For a very long time, actually from the revolution, 1979, October, I believe it was. These guys, these Persians, have been a little pesky Persians, and causing death and destruction and mayhem. all over the place. And, I have been all over the United States of America, and I have not run across one of those rallies where there's tens of thousands of people saying, death to Germany, death to Italy, death to, Saudi Arabia.
Or even death to Iran, for that
Or
matter.
death to Iran. I mean, we don't spend our Friday afternoons gathering and yelling death to other countries like death to America. I could almost say it in Farsi. You hear it so often. But, and we know that Netanyahu has taken his little Roadrunner bomb to the United Nations and said, look, here's the red line, and the red line is April, May, and maybe it got pushed back a little bit, maybe not. But look, I mean, Iran is a clear and present danger. Well, our next guest is an expert on all of these issues, and he's written a specific article on a unique approach to Iran over the next couple of weeks and months. So, are we ready, Mike, to bring in Gary Berntsen?
All set, yeah.
Mr. Gary Berntsen, hello. Welcome to Trento Vision once again. You've been our guest in the past. You're a good friend of ours and a true American hero. How are you, sir? We had to do a little audio thing there. How are you,
And it's
Gary?
nice to hear yours,
I'm doing really
too.
well. How are you doing today?
Good. Let me.
Can you hear
Very
me clearly?
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looks like we got you good, Mike. Let's go to leave it. Let's go to a 2-shot when you get a chance. All right, Gary Berntsen. Let's just establish a little bit of a background for you. You were with the what was the name of that organization in Langley? What do they call that again?
I served with the Central Intelligence Agency for 24 years.
Oh, that's right.
I was
Okay.
a senior operations officer. I was a chief of station 3 separate times. I led many of CIA's most significant counterterrorism deployments in the late 90s and the early period of 2000, 2001. I handled the East Africa bombings when they blew up our embassies. I was the chief of Hezbollah operations for several years. I handled the invasion of Afghanistan, running the Jawbreaker team, which was the largest of the 6 teams that entered for the combat phase of that conflict back in 2001 in October, right after 9/11. I am the author of several books. I wrote the book Jawbreaker, The Attack on Bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, which was about the invasion, recounting my experiences on the ground. I wrote a novel called The Walk-In, which is about the Iranian Quds Force and about the whole issue of counterterrorism in America and sort of the challenges we face. And then I wrote a policy book called Human Intelligence, Counterterrorism, and National Leadership. It was a policy book, a practical guide. And I spent a year, after I retired in CIA 2005, 2006, I went back to Afghanistan for a year and worked for Task Force Paladin. That was the part of JIDO, the Joint IED Defeat Organization. And I spent a year working with teams that handle IEDs, doing counter IED work out in RC East, that's Regional Command East, out in Nangarhar province, the capital Jalalabad. And so I did a lot of work in Jalalabad or Nangarhar, Laghman province, Konar province, and Nuristan. So I have quite a bit of experience in Afghanistan on the ground. My son just came home from his second tour in Afghanistan. He's a captain in the 82nd Airborne, and he did 2 combat tours in RC South.
All right, but Gary Berntsen, the real question is, have you ever shot skeet at Camp David?
No, never at Camp David, but at other places I have shot skeet.
Oh, because our president has actually shot a shotgun and shot skeet at Camp David.
I did see that photo and wasn't impressed.
Okay. Well, good to have you here. Your resume is overflowing. Your expertise is unique and overwhelming in many respects, and now your son is following in your footsteps. That's great. We're going to cover quite a bit in this segment, but let's get right into your article. You published an article on the Daily Caller, and a trip to, how do you pronounce this city? What's the name of the city?
Persepolis.
Persepolis. A trip to
Persepolis is
Persepolis.
the ancient city in Iran, the one that Alexander the Great seized.
Okay, so Alexander the Great in BC times seized Persepolis, and why did you pick that name for your article? What's the thesis of your article? And let's get into it.
I wrote the article with a gentleman by the name of Scott Modell, who was a colleague of mine during the years, who is an expert on Iran himself, a tremendous Persian linguist. I had worked Iran for many years before I became sort of the Hezbollah guy in CIA. The article that I wrote, A Trip to Persepolis, outlines what I believe we need to do in the short term with Iran. And the argument that I make and Mr. Modell, my co-author, is that we're at a point right now where we probably should reach out to the Iranians. And despite all of the difficulties that we've had with Iran and the misperceptions on both sides, there are misperceptions on the Iranian side and there are misperceptions on the American side, that despite all of that, we should sit down, try, and make one last effort to sit down with the Iranians, and that would be President Obama, requesting a meeting with Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. You don't want to talk to their president, who really doesn't hold power there, Ahmadinejad. It's Khamenei that we need to speak to, the Supreme Leader, and that in asking for such a meeting, that the Iranians would have to fulfill a couple of preconditions. The first precondition is they would have to release the Christian minister that has been in prison there, the American-Iranian Christian minister that has been just given a sentence of 8 years. They need to release him and return him to the United States first. The second thing they would do would release the body, the remains of Ron Arad, who was an Iranian navigator shot down over Lebanon many, many years ago in probably 1986. It was captured initially by Amal, one of the Shia militias, and then given to the Iranians. The Iranians had him alive for over a decade. He died in captivity, but he's almost like a folk hero in Israel, but we need to have that remains returned. And if they'll do those two things initially, we would suspend some of the sanctions for a period of about 60 days. And at that point, John Kerry could sit down and meet with Salehi, who's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, to map out initial discussions between President Obama and Khamenei. Now, of course, during those discussions also, we would send the head of the FBI, Robert Mueller, to meet with the head of the Iranian law enforcement forces, Moghadam. And we would do that because we're missing an FBI officer. An FBI officer by the name of Livingston traveled into Iran 3 or 4 years ago, went into Quiche Island south of there, and disappeared. We don't think the Iranians have him. They might have him, but they may not. And we've gotten photos of this gentleman, Livingston, in orange jumpsuit and chained, unshaven, huge beard, and it's very possible some militant groups are holding him. Could be Pakistani militant groups holding him. But the point is we need their assistance to recover this former FBI officer. And so if they agree to do those initial things, then Obama would sit down and have discussions with Khamenei. And the goal, of course, would be to get rid of the Iranian nuclear program. Now, we've had sanctions on the Iranians for years, and these sanctions are backbreaking. But the point that I've made in the article with Mr. Modell is that these sanctions aren't going to change anything. The Iranians continue to suffer. The rich class still does well. It's not affecting the mullahs. The average person, though, has it pretty tough. But understand something. The Iranians had it tougher during the war with Iran and Iraq. They lost 1 million people. So I don't think sanctions alone, and the Iranians continue to speed up on a nuclear program. We need to stop that nuclear program, and we may have to use military force at some point. But before we do that, we have a responsibility, I believe, to all those men and women in uniform and our armed services to take one last chance to try to negotiate this properly. If the Iranians will not negotiate, if they don't agree to this, or if such negotiations fail, then we can proceed, and use military force to get rid of that program. The big reason we want to get rid of that program is not just the danger of Iran having nuclear weapons, which is a bad thing for them to have nuclear weapons. The problem is if the Iranians have nuclear weapons, a Shia state right there, the Saudis are likely to proceed with a nuclear program. And Saudi Arabia may not be the most stable country in the world either. We do not want the Saudis to proceed with a weapons program. We don't want the Egyptians to proceed with a nuclear weapons program. We don't need the Sunni states pursuing this program because Iran has one. And if the Iranians do achieve nuclear weapons capability and the ability to deliver such weapons, many of their neighbors are going to pursue such weapons, and it will make the Middle East
It'll be insane for sure. All right, that's your first blush. Just throwing everything out to lay the groundwork for this. The thing that hits me, and I'm sure many people initially, is you went through your background. You are a hardcore operator. You're an intel guy. You're an on the ground guy. I mean, you've been in up close and personal, and you understand the threat of Islam. You understand the threat of these individuals, and this article sounds like it came out of either a Georgetown PhD student wanting to impress his professor with his diplomatic capabilities, or you've jumped over to the State Department now, and you go, well, let's try to solve this by talking to one another.
Well, I think that look, we're probably going to go to war with them this year, Tom. And if that's the ultimate end here, then so be it. But for all of us, for all of us who have children in the armed forces and know people and have friends and serve and fight, we have to recognize that I think we've all matured over the last decade or so. If we can possibly avoid a war, we should do that. If we can't avoid a war, then we need to win, and we need to fight hard. And I think that the Iranians themselves have painted themselves into a bit of a corner. There are as much, and I wrote in the article too, that there's misperceptions on both sides. The Iranians see us as terribly evil, and we're very, very angry at them for many of the things they've done to us. I talk about the Hezbollah bombings that they did against the United States. They killed U.S. Marines. They blew up our embassies. We supported Saddam Hussein, which they constantly cite, during a period of time where almost 1 million people died. And we did, of course, support Saddam because we thought that the Iranians were a greater problem. So many Iranians suffered deeply over that. The Iranians blamed us for things that happened in Lebanon that didn't happen. We blamed the Iranians for certain bombings, like OPM Sang, which they did not do. And so before we go to war, I think it's just a responsible thing to do is to make an effort for peace. Look, if we can't achieve peace, and we have to destroy those things, then, as I stated, so be it. We would have to probably, if we go to war with Iran, we probably shouldn't invade. We should probably destroy most of their navy. We should probably go after those sites. We should probably do a job, go after their all aircraft that they have in the Air Force. We should probably destroy their electric grid. There was a lot of things that you would do in a conflict with them to degrade their system and their ability to
all right, well, Gary, hold that. Let's before we
those weapons, but in the process, still, responsible people should make an attempt, the best attempt they can, at peace that they can. But it doesn't mean we accept this any longer. And what I'm saying is, with this thing, this is something that we need to do right now, in the short time, because if we don't do this now, they will achieve weaponization within the year.
All right, let's do this, because I want to pursue the battle plan a little bit, but let's try peace first. So, it sounds like you're being realistic. You're a realist, and you're a realist who wants to extend every diplomatic effort. And you've got a fascinating theory here. Let's go analytically. Again, as an intelligence guy, we hear, and I've met with several of the various pro-Iranian, pro-American groups that are in Beverly Hills, in California. 800,000 Persians wound up in California, and what we hear a lot in the States is, I think there's 60 million people in Iran. We hear, hey, most of the Iranians really like the West, they like Americans, and they hate the mullahs, they hate the ayatollahs, they hate the regime. Is that factually true? And if we had to break down the numbers of the 60 million, could you check, CJ, the population? I think it's 60 million. How does it break down?
That's an interesting point that you've made, and I'll be frank with you that there has been polling done, actually, people calling in from the outside, and it looks like, like 85% to 90% of the Iranian public has a positive view of the United States. They don't see themselves as enemies. Our enemies there are the Islamic regime. Now, of course, that still means if you're talking about 85% see us in positive light, only 15%, that's still 10 million people that see us badly out of the 80 that are there and that are ardent supporters of the regime. But the majority of Iranians see the United States in a positive light, and they'd like to see a change. Most of the people in Iran right now were born after the revolution. They never knew the Shah before, from which so many complaints were made. They only lived under this oppressive Islamic regime, and they really don't like it. Unfortunately, the Islamic regime, these revolutionaries who are leading that country, are the ones that fought for power and aren't going to give it up easily. They're not going to give it up without a fight, without a terrible fight. The combination of that situation and the fact that they're attempting to achieve nuclear weapons, though, makes this very, very dangerous for the world. And yes, I want to see democracy delivered to Iran, but that's not our primary concern at the moment. Our primary concern at the moment is making sure that Iran does not achieve nuclear weapons. And they need to give those up through negotiations, or we're going to have to destroy the infrastructure that supports that weaponization.
All right, a couple of things, and then CJ wants to get in here too. We're hearing all kinds of information on the actual status of the nuclear program. Whether it's in an enrichment phase, some serious friends of ours believe that they have enough of the bad uranium already made, and they figured out how to put the whole deal together. They do not have a delivery system. So you need the weaponized material, you need the bomb itself, and then you need a delivery system. Simply stated, where do you think they are? If you had to take your best guess, where are they in each of those phases, and when is there a nexus at which point they can either do a test or send something flying?
Let me just say this first off. There's without commenting on the specific level of their science, there's two things that you have to remember in terms of the politics of this. The United States has one set of red lines, which is, first off, the Israelis have one set of red lines, which means they have the ability to all the pieces together to assemble it to make a weapon. And the Americans say, essentially, the red line is like they've assembled the weapon, which is ridiculous. Because once they've assembled the weapon, they've got it. I mean, I'm a person who is more supportive of the Israeli red line in terms of danger. And so we need to act sooner rather than later. Remember something. The United States created a device in 1945. And they have access to 21st century technology now. It's just a matter of time. I would assume they're about to do this. I would assume that they are within 3 to 6 months.
Okay. 3 to 6 months. We're with Gary Berntsen, former Central Intelligence Agency station chief, operative, on and on and on. Google Gary Berntsen, Brntsen, and you can get a background on him. We'll put it up on our website at some point. It's 30 minutes past the hour, 3:30 on the East Coast. You're with Tom Trento. CJ Mark is now with us today. And we're discussing Gary's article that he wrote with Scott Modell, A Trip to Persepolis. And the thesis of the piece, the article is, if there is going to be a conflagration between Iran and the West, then we ought to exhaust all diplomatic efforts so that if for nothing else, we can say historically, we tried. I just got a text, Gary. Somebody wrote in, aren't you concerned this is going to be a significant Chamberlain giveaway moment where we go, okay, we have peace now, and then we get surprised by these guys because of their...
No, well, look, we're committed to it's not a Chamberlain moment, because Chamberlain was looking for peace at any price. We're not looking for peace at any price. We're looking for them to dismember a nuclear weaponized program. And if they do not dismember that weaponized program, we're going to destroy it. And essentially that's what, and to make sure that they don't go to weaponization, we'll establish relations with them. We will open relations with them. We will seek a cold peace. We're never going to be friends with we're not going to be friends with the Islamic regime of Iran. We're not going to be. We don't need a dialogue of civilizations, as we wrote in the article. We're not going to be assisting each other in many different ways, but we can at least come to some accommodation. And I also stated in the article that one of the former heads of the Revolutionary Guard Corps, Moshe Rezai, said we should conceivably pursue a cold peace with the Americans whereby we step back. And this is the head of the Revolutionary Guard Corps saying, we step back from support to Hezbollah and Hamas and essentially, maintain and manage and take care of our own revolution or religious status of our country and leave those others alone to achieve a peace with the U.S., a cold peace. Remember something. Nixon dealt with China, okay? Mao Zedong murdered maybe 1 million times more the number of people than the Iranians have. Mao killed probably 30 million people in the Great Leap Forward, starved them to death. It was brutal. But we had a reason to do this because we had a great concern for the Soviet Union. As we're looking at the Iranians right now, we need to recognize that we are in a maybe a 50-year conflict coming up now, at least, with Salafists, with the Sunnis, and with Sunni extremism. The Shiites of Iran and their co-religionists in Lebanon have very, very, very limited appeal outside of their areas of Iran and of Lebanon. Very limited appeal. Some Shias in eastern Saudi Arabia, a couple of little pockets here and there, nothing significant. The whole concept of Walayat Faqih, the rule of an Islamic jurist under Shia religion, doesn't have broad global appeal. Salafists on the other hand.
Let's hold on to that for a second, because now this is a critical ideological point. You're with Tom Trento, CJ. We have Gary Bernsen on, a former CIA official, and we're discussing an article he published on the Daily Caller, phenomenal Washington publication, the Daily Caller. And right now, if you want to get in on the conversation, call 888-565-1470. If you'd like to talk to Gary, 888-565-1470. Gary, we have 10-15% of the 1.3 billion Muslims who are on the Shia side. You threw out the term Salafists, and our audience is pretty astute, but just I'll define it quickly. I think everyone knows that there's the Sunnis, which are about 80-85%, 90% of the 1.3 billion Muslims. Those are the Saudi-type Muslims. And the Shia, and they have serious disagreements as to how the chain of authority was handed down. But the Shia are the Persians. Who else beside the Persians, the Iranians, are significant Shia Muslims?
Well, you have the Shia of Lebanon, and they are the ones that make up Hezbollah,
right?
Party of God there. Their religious leader is Fadlallah. The Shia in Lebanon initially supported a guy by the name of Mohsen Sadr, who traveled off to Libya and was killed by Gaddafi 30 or 40 years ago. And so then, you had other guys like, like Fadlallah that would step forward, after Mohsen Sadr. Hassan Nasrallah is actually the Secretary General of Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Fadlallah is their religious leader.
Okay.
But, that's about it. There are some small numbers of Shias. There was Hezbollah of the Hijaz in eastern Saudi Arabia. There are small numbers of Shiites in Afghanistan, in the center of Afghanistan, and, they're very Asian-looking. They're called the Hazara. There are variations of the Shia, like the Alawites, or the Ismailis. The Ismailis are led by the Aga Khan, and they are in Pakistan, but they're a different version of it, sort of a mild version of it. So, as Tom said correctly, that they are, 15% of the total body, and the split between Sunnis and Shias began very early. It was over an argument of succession to the leadership of Islam at the beginning. After the Prophet died, certain individuals believed that his son-in-law and nephew Ali should take power, and he did not. Abu Bakr was the first one to take over, and then there were 2 or 3 others until finally Ali took over. He would be assassinated. His son Hussein would then, of course, be killed in a battle in Karbala in southern Iraq by the new leader, the new caliphate, and that was a man who had been the governor of Damascus. And this was the beginning of what was called the Yazids. And a general by the name of Shemer would slaughter Hussein and his family. And that is the day that is celebrated every year, called Ashura, where that 15% go out and they whip themselves, they cut
The
their
bloody
heads.
frenzy, yep.
Shame for the fact that the Shiites abandoned Ali. They didn't stand with him, and he was left to fight and die alone. And he is considered a heroic figure to the Shia. And so the line of the Shia, the 15%, all believed in Ali and his son Hussein, and follow that line. The other Shiites, the others who are Sunnis, the majority, are followers of the other line. And it's almost like Protestants and Catholics.
Yeah, and yeah.
Shiites,
But here's one more question. Then CJ has some questions for you. With that analysis, and we know there's never going to be harmony between the Sunni and the Shia. It's impossible because they have fundamental differences in terms of the historical facts. But right now, the mullahs, the ayatollahs, the leadership they seem to be seriously focused on Qam, on the Mahdi, on the Twelvers, on the end of the world, on this whole eschatological system, and that even Mahmoud Ahmadinejad believes he may be the precursor to John the Baptist, to the 12th Imam. How does the eschatological reality of this regime fit into serious diplomatic discussions to end what they believe is the catalyst to bring on paradise and complete domination of the world to them? Why would they want to give up this bomb?
I think that, I understand your line of thought, and there are those in Iran that believe, as you have just stated. There are many that do not. There are many that take a more pragmatic view of the world, that don't see the end of the world coming. But there are, the problem is that the leadership of Iran doesn't look at the world through the same eyes that we do. They don't see history the way that we do. They don't know about the Reformation. They don't know about developments in Europe. Everything that they see, many of the leaders of Iran, like Ayatollah Khamenei and those other senior ayatollahs around him, look at the world through the prism of the Quran, and it causes difficulties for us. But there's, I think, enough of them that are practical enough to recognize that they don't want to be destroyed by the U.S., that this is probably not the end of the world, and they don't need to be defanged totally and have their economy completely gutted and destroyed. And that I think if given an opportunity for a practical discussion, they will. Now, let me just go back for a second.
Okay.
It was something I added in the article. During the invasion of Afghanistan, Ambassador James Dobbins, who was the special representative to Afghanistan for George Bush, negotiated with the Iranians. The Iranians agreed to turn back pilots planes that might crash in Iran during that war. They agreed not to interrupt special operations on the ground as we were fighting. They agreed to support Karzai when we selected Karzai. There was cooperation. Now, when we went into Iraq, we had no talks with them. We didn't approach them again. And I think at that point, the United States, President Bush felt like we had destroyed the Taliban so rapidly that he could do the Iraqis and that he would do the Iranians next, which of course never happened. And so the point here is that the Iranians can be practical. There is a precedence for negotiating with them. Listen, I have no love for the mullahs. I've spent my life working against the Islamic regime of Iran and against Hezbollah. Many, many years of my life. I speak Persian. I've studied their language, their culture. I understand them. And I understand, as you stated, Tom, that there is a very radical fringe involved in this. Many of them are the IRGC, Quds Force guys. There's a lot of these true believers on the other side, but there's a whole lot of practical people there too. And we need to attempt, as I stated, to avoid conflict, because we're very likely to have war with them this year. And I think that the chances for what I propose to succeed are probably very small, because the Obama administration probably isn't strong enough to do this. He, as a president, doesn't have enough understanding. He may have been given the Nobel Prize initially when he got elected for showing up, but I'm not sure he has the capacity to do this. And my article was written in a way to provide an incentive and at least a pathway to them to maybe pursue. I suspect they won't pursue it, and I suspect by the end of the year we will be at war with Iran, at least in a limited conflict, to destroy their facilities.
Oh, boy. Okay, CJ, you wanted to get in and ask Gary a couple of questions. If anybody else does, 888-565-1470.
Yes. Hi, how are you, Gary?
Thanks.
Really interesting article. When I have to tell you the truth, when I first read it, I thought it was like I was reading The Onion. I thought it was tongue-in-cheek. I thought you were kidding.
No.
We've been making overtures for diplomatic relations, for peace with them, at least since the beginning of the Obama administration, and they've all been rejected. They've been laughing at us for years. And this administration has no desire whatsoever to go to war against anybody, particularly anybody who's Muslim, and definitely not in it to win it, whatever they do. So I don't see how you think that we could be going to war against them. I don't know who in this administration would prosecute it. And I think you're leaving out Israel. Iran.
No, I'm not leaving out Israel.
Where does Israel fit into this?
Let me just say this. The Obama administration, would you have believed several years ago that he would do hundreds and hundreds of drone strikes and kill thousands of people in the federal administered areas of Pakistan? Would you have believed that he was going to do that?
Yeah, I think that whole program is a con.
Well, it could be.
I don't think it's a con. He's actually killing people there.
Yeah, he's killing fewer people than he would be if he were actually at war to actually win it. And he's not taking prisoners, and he's not interrogating people. And when he does take prisoners, he lets them go.
Agreed. Let me just say this. President Bush released 2 to 3 times the number of people released by the Obama administration. Most of the people I captured and sent to Gitmo were released by President Bush.
That's
not Obama.
not good. Yeah, that's not good.
I'm a Republican, okay? But it's important to understand the facts.
Where's Israel?
Look at the numbers of people that were released.
Where does Israel fit into all this? Gary, where does Israel fit in all this?
Yeah.
The key here is what we're trying to do is avoid Israel having to do this. You know? We're trying to avoid Israel having to do this. The fact of the matter is the Obama administration will probably have not much choice. If the Iranians weaponize, they know the Israelis will go. And I suspect in the end, it would be, there's a possibility for a joint operation. We cannot allow the Iranians to weaponize. And I think even the Obama
we're in agreement on that.
To that conclusion. They'll loathe it. They will loathe it, but they won't have a choice. They really won't. In the end, they'll be compelled to do this.
All right, Mark. Gary, hang on, Gary. We got Mark on the line. Mark, come on in. You're on with Gary Bernson. How could we help you, Mark?
Hey, Gary. I agree with you 100% that we should try to do everything we can to avoid war with Iran. And I applaud you on your efforts. However, I got a simple question to ask you. What would you have done different before World War II with Hitler? How would you have approached that situation?
Did you hear that, Gary? Were you able to hear the question?
The question.
The caller, Mark, agrees with your analysis, but asks, what would you have done now, the historical hindsight? What would you suggest we do differently to deal with Hitler before World War II and the 38, 39, 40, the run-up?
Look, the thing is, my hero in World War II is a Lutheran minister by the name of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Bonhoeffer was the minister that attempted to, with with the group to assassinate Hitler, and they failed, of course. This was a man of deep faith that decided that murdering someone, Hitler, was the right thing to do. Bonhoeffer was a guy, even though he was a Lutheran, that the Pope wanted to and had considered making a saint. If you've never heard his name, Google him, read about him.
I know him. I know him very well. I know about him very well.
What a
yes,
guy.
Amazing guy.
So the point here is Hitler was totally a madman, and there were a number of people in Germany, in the Wehrmacht, the German army, that didn't like Hitler, wanted to get rid of him early. Hitler never won an election. When he came to power with a minority. He passed the Enabling Act and seized control of the country. So there wasn't broad support for Hitler in Germany. There were a lot of zealots in a plurality that supported Hitler. And in the case of Iran, though, we have a class of mullahs running that country. And I of course greatly support freedom for all Iranians, and I'd like to see them out from under the Islamic regime. But the first thing we must deal with is their weapons program. We got to think about this, the weapons program first. And so, again, and I mean no disrespect to anybody, that the smart thing to do is to attempt diplomacy first. And I've provided in my article, and I didn't say that I'm against force. I'm not against force. But you need to give that effort. And I understand CJ's point where she said, we've been trying for years. Well, the point is we haven't been trying correctly for years. Yeah. You're talking to Ahmadinejad. He doesn't run the show. Khamenei runs the show.
Well, Gary, if I could interrupt you for just 1 second, I think you said it yourself in your comments. We're talking about two different cultures and two different people who see the world and understand language differently. The Iranians are seeing it through the language and the history of the Quran, and we are seeing it through a different prism here in the United States and pretty much everywhere else in the West. I don't know where that common ground is, where one gets through to the other. And you gave the example of China, and others have given the example of the Soviet Union, but we are not in a situation with the Iranians where mutually assured destruction is a scare or a threat to these people. So really, what is the incentive?
The incentive for them is, look, they recognize practically that, that life for them is very, very difficult, and they're starting to feel the heat. To purchase a chicken right now to feed your family in Iran, you need enough tomans that you can cash them in and get $60 US. It costs $60 to buy a single chicken to feed your family.
Understood.
People are suffering there. The economy is in very, very bad shape.
Understood.
The sanctions are hurting the population terribly. It's not hurting the mullahs. The population's suffering terribly.
Well, this sounds a lot like North Korea.
And it goes on, and North Korea goes on. It's gone on a lot longer than
exactly.
Than Iran.
There's no incentive for them.
That North Korea is not spurring a weapons race.
No, they're threatening to give it away and to share it to the people who will.
But I think that we need to stay on Iran for a second here, though. The point here is that we have had talks with the Iranians during the Afghan war. They were fruitful. They stayed to their word during that period of time. My point here is that we can live with the Iranian regime for right now by negotiating with them right now. If they will give up their weapons program, open diplomatic relations just like we did with China, and start a process of dialogue with them. Doesn't mean we're going to be allies, doesn't mean we're going to be friends, but we need to try to walk it back, because we can use war, and we may use war, and it would be unfortunate given the number of people that will die. And I think as individuals who are responsible and God-fearing, I think we have a responsibility to try our best to avoid that. If it can't be avoided, then we will use those tools. But first, always attempt to use diplomacy to its maximum. And then if it fails, well, then you've never taken any options off the table. But if we're going to do this, in my article, what I talk about is we need to do this immediately. We need to do it now, because this is going to be upon us very, very quickly. And I'd say within a couple of months, even the options for this will run out.
I just don't think that the Iranians believe that we will back up the ultimate threat if diplomacy fails. I think there's nothing about the character of this government that tells anybody in the world that we're going to talk the talk and walk the walk at all.
Well, I think that, look, there are people that see us differently. We as maybe conservative Republicans are terribly frustrated with an administration which we believe is not, conducting itself as forcefully, aggressively as they should. Others abroad look at us and say, hey, they killed several thousand people with drones, they've done this, they've done that. They may not see it the way that you and I see it. And they see us as extremely aggressive. They see us as having encircled them. The Iranians, see forces all around them. They see multiple aircrafts in the Persian Gulf. They see us in Pakistan and Afghanistan. They see us with a major air base on their border.
Hang on. What I like...
They look at us differently. Trust me. I've been dealing with Iranians for 20 years. I deal with them in their language. And they recognize that a conflict between us and them could end very badly for them. And, America, let me just say this last thing about America. America is kind of like an elephant at the circus. People are yelling at it, they throw, bananas at it, they treat it badly, they insult it, and then the elephant finally has enough, pulls its stake up, and then stamps half the people, killing them in the tent, and destroys the place.
Throw a tent over this circus.
The United States takes a lot of insults, but then once it goes to war, there's massive damage.
I like that tent analogy for American diplomacy.
That's how it is.
Not really.
The Americans will stand around and take all sorts of abuse forever. And then when they respond, the consequences for everybody is horrible.
Yeah. I just don't see the will in this country to respond.
Well, what I like about this is, and I'm convinced that most of the Persians, particularly the younger ones, are not the crazies. They want nice clothes, nice cars, all of that. I don't know all those guys were on the line. We had a bunch of people on the line holding. I wasn't aware of that. But sorry for you callers on hold. We got into it with Gary ourselves. But
well, we didn't support them when we had the chance, and we had a chance to turn things around, and we didn't.
But I think if Gary is right that this could end in a conflagration before the end of the year, then this effort to reach out is once the elephant starts trampling on Tehran and the lights are out and the Air Force is down and the Navy's down and they're fighting in the streets over bread. They're going to turn on the Ayatollahs and the mullahs and say, look, you had a chance to sort this out.
What's going to happen is they're going to suck us in, take our free 60 days of no sanctions, make the most that they can out of that, and then turn around and give us the finger.
If they do that, CJ, they will lose all the benefits of when a conflict begins. Look, we are in a day and age now in the 21st century where we have things like carbon weapons. You detonate a carbon weapon above Tehran, you fry the entire electrical grid. They're on a camping trip for 10 years. You don't want to have to do those things. The mistake that people make frequently is that back in 1991, right, when we were going to go into Iraq and fight the Iraqis, everyone said there's going to be 70,000 dead Americans, 80,000 dead Americans. Well, we smoked those guys. And then, of course, when we fought in Afghanistan in 2001, and I led the troops on the ground, the agency element on the ground there in RC East. Everyone said, oh, everyone's lost in Afghanistan for 2,000 years. We're never going to do this. Well, we found a way to do it where 110 CIA officers and 350 special forces, smoked 70,000 members of the Taliban and 5,000 to 7,000 members of Al-Qaeda.
Okay, but they're taking over again now.
The Iranians might find that a conflict with the West now, new weapons will come out. There are things called direct hard target strike weapons, which are earth penetrators that can dig down, 200 feet. They're more effective than nuclear weapons against bunkers. There are a new class of weapons has been created. If you go on the internet and you look for these things, they were probably devised for these such targets. And I suspect the United States will do a lot better than people suspect we would be against those targets. But again, in the sense of being a Christian, as I am, I believe that we need to try to spare as many lives as possible, innocent lives. And that's why I have no problem with negotiations initially. You attempt to do it peacefully first. Even if they attempt to pull the wool over our eyes, and we can see it after 45 days, they're not going to do this, then we have to move to the other option.
All right,
but
Gary.
as Christians, I think, we have a responsibility to do our utmost to save innocent lives first. And then if it doesn't work and we have to have a conflict, well, then we have to have a conflict.
Then we smoke them if we have to. All right, Gary Burnson, thank you very much.
So much.
We're right to the limit here. We're going to have you back, Gary, and continue this conversation.
I would love to hear the follow-up to the article.
And, I thank all your viewers for listening, and I'm sorry we didn't get to take more of their calls.
All right, and thank you for your service to this country. We appreciate it. All right, Gary, ladies and gentlemen, we got to go right now. Gary Burnson, former CIA official. Fascinating hour. We'll be back with Throw the Christians the Hell Off the Campus. See you in a little bit.
The bond between a child and a horse is special. When that child is physically or mentally challenged, the results are magical. Horses and the Handicapped of South Florida has been providing equine-assisted therapy to hundreds of children, the majority of which could never afford this highly beneficial therapy on their own. It's a great cause, and here's a great way to help. Grab your boots and join us on Friday, March 1st at 7 p.m. at Ron Bergeron's Green Glades Ranch in Weston for the 3rd annual Wild West Night. This fun and exciting evening will feature great food and drink. Try an alligator Ron, live music with the Barron Sisters and the Andrews Morris Band. A live and silent auction featuring a Taylor Swift autographed guitar, live writing demonstrations, and much, much more. It's all to celebrate the legacy of Megan Morency. And all the proceeds go to Horses and the Handicapped. Wild Wild West Night, Friday, March 1st. For tickets, visit hhsfl.org. That's hhsfl.org. AM 1470, WNN, with more of what you need to know. Tune in for the best. Best Stop Trafficking with your host, Linda Sullivan. Wednesdays at noon on South Florida's Health and Wealth Network, AM 1470, WNN.
Hi, I'm Duke Liberatore.
And I'm Dr. Jan McBarron.
We're a husband and wife team.
And together we host the #1 health talk show in the nation,
Duke and the Doctor.
You can hear our show weekday mornings at 10 here on WWNN AM 1470 Health and Wealth Radio.
We'll discuss up-to-date health news, give away gifts, share in a laugh or two, and answer health questions from our callers.
So if you are ready to start feeling happy, healthy, and terrific, then tune in to Duke and the Doctor.
Weekday mornings at 10 on WWNN AM 1470.
This is Health and Wealth Radio, AM 1470, WWNN Pompano Beach, and WKIS HD3, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
AM 1470, WNN, with more of what you need to know. Start your day with the Steve Kane Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. on South Florida's Health and Wealth Network, AM 1470, WNN.
IRN USA Radio News, I'm Hope Duggar. The world is safe, at least from one asteroid. A 150-foot cosmic rock hurtled safely past Earth today. It was the closest known flyby for a rock of its size. It passed within 17,000 miles, and that's closer than some satellites. The flyby occurred just hours after a much smaller meteor exploded above Russia's Ural Mountains. Astronomers say the two events were coincidental, and the objects were traveling in opposite directions. Planes have been shuttling more than 2,000 passengers of the damaged Carnival Triumph cruise ship to Houston for the final leg of a long journey home. A spokeswoman for Bush Intercontinental Airport says Carnival Cruise Lines has contracted with Delta Airlines for 11 flights today from New Orleans to Houston. The approximately 2,300 passengers have the option of leaving for home from the Houston airport or taking a charter bus for the 50-mile drive to Galveston, Texas, where their cars may be parked. The cruise ship left the port of Galveston 8 days ago for what was supposed to be a 4-day cruise. This is IRN USA Radio News.
With the Ace Bag Sale this Saturday, getting 20% off almost everything you can fit into a bag takes planning. Say you spot some light bulbs. You might not want to put those in the bag first, especially if you add a gallon of paint, which is also 20% off, like the duct tape, which will help if the bag tears when you add a second gallon of paint, which will make the whole bag 20% off and very heavy. At Ace, the helpful place. Discount is off regular priced in-stock merchandise. It fits inside one bag at one time. Good at participating stores February 16th only. Limit one bag and offer per customer. Other conditions apply. See store for details.
How would you like to save money on gas and get paid to do it? Hi, how in the world are you anyway? This is Andy Willoughby with the 3-Step Plan Home-Based Business System. Gas was only about $1 a gallon when I started the 3-Step Plan. Today, thousands of families are working from home, driving less, and earning extra money with their own home business. To find out how you can make more money working from home, go to 3stepusa.com or call 800-480-2102. That's 800-480-2102.
They gave their lives to protect the children in their care. President Barack Obama offered their tribute today to the 6 educators from Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, as he presented their family members with the Presidential Citizens Medal. The 6 Lane educators were among those awarded the medals today for contributions to public service. The House has voted to extend the pay freeze for federal workers. Here's Jerry Bodlander.
Federal workers' pay's been frozen for 2 years, and the House has now approved a bill to block the president's proposal to give them a 0.5% increase starting next month and instead continue the freeze through the end of the year. Congressman Darrell Issa argued federal workers make a good wage, get good benefits, and can afford the freeze.
It is a very small sacrifice.
Opponents like Stephen Lynch said federal workers have sacrificed enough.
This is a disgrace.
The freeze also applies to congressional pay. Jerry Bodlander, Capitol Hill.
For the latest news and analysis, log on to IRNUSAnews.com.
This is Steve Kane, and let's face it, in this economy, everyone is cutting back. But now, thanks to Dr. Michael Blum, the one place you don't have to cut back is on your dental health. Right now, Dr. Blum is offering a special for Steve Kane listeners only. A free full exam, including consultation and x-rays, all at no charge. Dr. Michael Blum, with 20 years of experience and a reputation for being one of the finest dentists in all South Florida. Call and schedule your appointment today. 954-463-4999. That's 954-463-4999. Remember, this is for Steve Kane listeners only, so mention my name when you call. You can reach Dr. Blum at blumdentist.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Abrams. The lives of ordinary people are ensnared in a web of intrigue, and it all starts with rumors in my new novel. The story is fast-paced and draws the reader into the characters' experiences as secrets, lies, and conspiracies grow from rumors and create chaos in a quiet suburban community. Rumors, your perfect leisure time companion.
Rumors by Stephanie Abrams. Visit Amazon.com, where Rumors is available in print and Kindle formats, BarnesandNoble.com, and Exlibris.com in print and ebooks. Or go to sabrams.com/rumors to click right through. sabrams.com/rumors.
Rumors by Stephanie Abrams. That would be me.
Here's some great news from Tom Trento, host of the daily WNN Trento Vision Show. Due to the unparalleled success of the Trento Vision Show, you now have an amazing opportunity to advertise on the Trento Vision Show. If you want more information about this excellent opportunity for your business, please contact Tom Trento at 561-319-5533. Or you can email him, tom@trentovision.tv. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and TrentoVision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Kenny, hello everybody. Tom Trento here at 5 minutes past 4 o'clock. We're expecting a call right away, Kenny, from Bradley. And he's on the line. Okay, let's bring him right in.
Okay,
Tom
don't
Trento.
worry, we'll talk until you get here.
Bradley Dean, hi. This is Tom Trento, Trento Vision with CJ and a few others in here. Are you with us, Bradley?
I am. Thank you for having me.
Hey, our pleasure. You've been a busy guy lately, causing a little trouble, I hear.
Well, you know what? It's righteous trouble, and if that's what we have to do, just like William Booth rightly said, if you want to change the future, you're going to have to trouble the present. So we're getting in trouble for the right reasons, Tom, not the wrong reasons.
I know, Bradley, and that's actually very good. I know we got a paper fest going on in here. I know we everyone missed their little salty bars, Bradley, during the break, so they're eating them now as I'm trying to talk to you. But I know we only have you for a short amount of time. We played your video yesterday. That was simply right down the street from where this studio is, Spanish River High School in Boca Raton, Florida, and we will play it after we finish the interview with you. Okay. So for our viewers and our listeners, set up the video, explain what happened yesterday, explain a little bit about who you guys are. Sons of Liberty. We met you guys at the Republican. Well, we met them at the Republican National Convention, and then we had Jake on the line. Yeah. And then Bradley and Jake were with Danita at the Tea Party in Fort Lauderdale. Mark Campbell was there. We feel like we're one big happy family right now.
I'm glad. I mean, that's what it's about, right? We're going to win the day when we come together, but go ahead.
All right, tell us what you guys do, Sons of Liberty, and what you were doing on the campus of the high school yesterday, and what the heck happened, or 2 days ago.
First of all, I'm an overseer of a ministry called You Can Run But You Cannot Hide International. We do high school assemblies, as you said, Tom, all across the country. We've done 340 high schools in 22 different states. And we're simply reaching into our posterity because, for the most part, what we're seeing across this country, the only one paying attention to our posterity is the man in the White House. And so in saying that, as a matter of fact, that's why we were in Tampa at the RNC, going up and down Radio Road, doing interview after interview, telling the older generation, listen, Elvis is dead, the party's over. We have to get back and we have to face the fire now, and we need to reach into our younger generations, because if we're not going to be there to bless them, they're going to be there to curse us. So in saying that, I've been doing that for about 12 years. I'm also a show host for a ministry called Sons of Liberty Radio, and what we talk about there is basically bringing them back to the foundations. As George Washington rightly said, the two pillars of society are religion and morality, and we have to get back to those. So what we want to do is lay down the foundations, because if we don't know where we came from, we don't know where we're going. Said Woodrow Wilson, love him or hate him. And aside of that, we were invited, after doing 6 tea parties here in the state of Florida, beautiful state of Florida, might I add, to come and do a high school program at the Spanish River High School in Boca Raton, Florida. And when we did that, I simply got out of the car, walked up, and as I walked up, there was a bunch of ruckus going on, and I was told that they're not going to have the event. And I said, why? And one of the guys in my crew said, because they said they haven't vetted you yet. And then to my dismay, I found out that they'd been there for 2 years and they never had any speakers vetted. And so right away, I knew what it was about. A feminine teacher was there talking, and what came to heart right away is I said, sir, you been blogging or something? Have you been blogging? Have you been out there listening to those people that don't know how to tell the truth again? Because obviously they're going to attack me because I'm effective. And he said, no. He said, nothing. No, we haven't vetted you. The principal comes over to me. He said, Bradley, just, it's okay, man. We haven't vetted you yet. We haven't vetted you yet. And then one of the students asked him and said, have you vetted anybody? And he said, honestly, I've got to say, no, we've never vetted anybody. So I knew what was going on right then and there. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this effeminate teacher said, I warn you, children, once I got in the center of it, all the students, what happened is the body of students started to swell because of the persecution that was going on. They wanted to know what was going on, and I wanted this man to go ahead, just give him enough rope, and he'll do it to himself, and he did, friends, he did. And what he did is he said, listen, once he started to see the students follow me out, I said, okay, if we're not going to have the event here, let's go outside here. Let's go right over here on the grass, and I'll have the event there. I'll give you my program right there. So the kids started to follow me out, and all of a sudden this effeminate individual said to the students, he said, "I warn you, children, that everything this gentleman is going to tell you is complete misinformation." And right after he said that, the principal walked up to him, kind of pushed him aside because the principal realized what he just said right then and there was unacceptable. This individual also said to the students, right when I first got there, Tom, he told the students that your First Amendment right stops at the school gates. And what's interesting about that is the Supreme Court agreed with what Article 1 of the Bill of Rights said when it says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the stopping of the free exercise thereof. And what's interesting is what the Supreme Court said is they said we cannot expect students to leave their rights at the schoolhouse door. How ironic that he would say something like that. Wow. So I went out, I did the presentation for the students, had a little contention with some of them, but that's good too because it brings up discussion. This is about education, friends, not about indoctrination. And right when that was going on, some people contacted Liberty Counsel out of Virginia, and those guys are known to bring results. And they got a hold of us immediately, and what we're waiting for now is a response back from the school so we can be back there again next week doing my assembly program that everybody in the school now knows about.
Wow.
All right, let me get a couple of points in order so that the viewers and the listeners can understand the video when we show it after you leave.
Okay.
Now, you were on campus. Now, I know because I've been involved in a lot of these things through the years that student groups that are not an official part of the school, but they're student-directed, student-led, with no teachers or school officials as part of it.
Yeah, no advisors.
They can have their own groups and essentially do basically whatever they want if it's not illegal. Were you functioning in that capacity, or were you going to be speaking in an auditorium as part of the ongoing school function?
No, just what you described. The group, this is what I was told. They were advertising for 3 weeks. They had posters up for a week, and they also were broadcasting and advertising my events on morning announcements all week, and I was there for the student-led group.
Okay.
The American Club.
So this was during school hours?
No, this was right after
So this
school.
was after school?
After school.
Okay, that's what I wanted to establish.
This is black and white, this one.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So the
And
effeminate...
we know that, and so do they, by the way.
Now, the effeminate teacher, that's another term for gay, I'm assuming? You thought he's...
Well, I can't assume.
Okay.
Obviously, it was quite obvious where this was coming from, and he's getting disinformation, which means purposed misinformation on me and my ministry. So we had to attack that issue right away, but it was quite obvious who was the one that was, stirring this whole thing up to his own dismay. But it was that effeminate teacher.
Because you're a Christian, you have a Christian message,
Right.
and you've gone on record saying that homosexuality is a problem, and gay people don't like you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
but what is your
question about
when
it.
you're going to a school like Spanish River and you're doing this program that you're doing? What is the topic? What is the point of your program? What is the content of
Yesterday, what was your talk?
it? Yeah,
2
what
days
was
ago.
your talk about?
The pith and marrow of my whole program
Mm-hmm.
is to first of all, what I'll do is I'll ask the students, do you know the Constitution? The kids will say, no, I don't know it. I've seen 68 hands go up across this country in 340 high schools. That's a whole lot of young people, hundreds of thousands of students. They'll say no, they'll laugh about it, and I'll say, well, what's so funny about it? If you don't know your Constitution, you don't have any rights, and if you don't know your rights, you don't have any rights. And then the next question I'll ask them is, how many in this room have uncles, aunts, moms, dads, grandpas, grandmas, cousins, maybe even brothers or sisters that served in foreign wars to magnify the Constitution that you don't know? And all of a sudden they think, wait a second, this isn't funny anymore, because they realize that somebody in their family may have fought, bled, died to ratify the Constitution that they don't know. Then I proceed on to go on a whole plethora of topics: the media, abortion, what the media believes, constitutional republic, teaching the difference between a democracy and a republic, a whole plethora of topics. Then I'll zip up the whole thing. I'll bring everything together, and then I'll show them the price paid for their freedoms. I'll show them the oath that's taken by the military before they serve our country to give us the gift of freedom. And then I'll take them to Arlington Cemetery. And then after I do that, I ask them after they see the price paid for their liberties, now which one of you guys thinks that we should just go ahead and desecrate the memory of what them men fought, bled, and died to give us? And all of a sudden what I'll get is I'll get some student to shout back, if you do that, I'll rip off your head. And what I just did is through an hour-and-a-half presentation, they now understand the price paid for their liberties, what is un-American, what is unconstitutional, and they begin to stand up and fight for what is American, one nation under God, as our God-given republic. And for the most part, guys all across the country, they don't know this. So that is the pith and marrow of my topic, what I want to leave the kids with, because what they look for when I leave is they want to know what the Constitution says, what the Declaration of Independence says, what the Bill of Rights say.
And where does homosexuality fit into this? Is that part of your discussion?
No, it's totally not, and I don't even know why you're bringing that up.
I'm bringing it up because obviously, if there's
it sounds like that
teacher had a problem with you because of the fact that he's probably gay.
Censor you.
Yeah,
to preemptively
that's why I'm
censor
asking.
You.
Well, he does have an issue of it. He does have an issue with it, and where I bring it in is I show them what the media reports. And keep in mind, friends, if I may, everybody in this country needs to realize I never had any problems in public schools whatsoever until they started to promulgate the homosexual message into public schools.
That's the activists. Yep, that's what happens.
And that's exactly. And what happened is once they seen I became effective, then they zeroed in on me. And then here comes Rachel Maddow. Here comes New York Times. Here comes Huffington Post. Here comes every Tom, Dick, and Harry coming out of the woodwork trying to demonize me, trying to polarize me for everything that we've done. And so anyways, in saying that, what I do is I just simply show them what the media believes and what those that run for the state-run media, what they believe. For example, 47% of those that promulgate the news in the United States believe there's nothing wrong with adultery. 76% see nothing wrong with homosexuality. 90% see nothing wrong with babies being aborted. And then there's an 86% ratio that never attend church, and for the most part, I don't blame them for what's happening in the church in America today. And that's what they get angry about right there, what I just said.
Okay. Yep, and they're angry at you for a couple of reasons. First of all, your core message on what patriotism is in the United States of America and the cost paid for freedom. That's an offensive message to the left today.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's
or
very
it would be taught in school in the first place.
Exactly.
Well, right. And keep in mind too, most of the kids across this country believe that we're a democracy. And now what I ask the kids is I say, let me ask you something. Do you say the Pledge of Allegiance in your schools? Yeah. Well, I'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. They'll say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Republic. I'll say, what did you say?
Yep.
We're ruled by law, friends, not opinion. And I ask them the question, who was the last president to actually acknowledge that we were a republic? Ronald Reagan. Every president since then has continuously inundated you with the fact that we're a democracy, and democracy, according to our forefathers, is self-destructing. And then I'll give them forefather quotes. So I can see and I understand why they're attacking me, but the bottom line is I'm the one following the rule of law here. They are not.
Yeah, and the beauty is Liberty Counsel, organizations like that have tremendous capability on First Amendment issues, and thank God we still have the courts to do these battles in. Do you think Bradley Dean, Sons of Liberty, do you think there's a lawsuit in the offing here?
Well, I heard somebody in the background saying this is black and white. Yeah. So we're stepping back right now. We're in contact with Liberty Counsel. They wrote a very strong letter. If you'd like to see the letter, it's on the front page of WND right now. And that one he knocked it out of the park with that letter.
If you could pull that up, we'll read that.
Yes, and with that, we're just sitting back right now, and we're saying to our attorney over there, what is it that you want us to do? And hopefully within a couple of days here, we're going to be able to say, hey, we're coming back.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. And you may or may not know that now this happened to you 2 days ago. Today's Friday. This happened on Wednesday or Thursday? Yes. Wednesday?
Was it Wednesday, Jake, that we were there? Yes, I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday.
I think it was Wednesday.
Yeah, it was Wednesday, yes.
Yeah, was it Wednesday? Yeah, because on Wednesday, when were we at FAU? Was it Tuesday? Okay. On Tuesday, we were at Florida Atlantic University, not that far from Spanish River High School, and you may have heard about this. There's a Palestinian hate group on the campus that's doing Jew hatred teaching.
Sure.
So we went in, our Trento Vision media team with our press passes, all of that, to go videotape the presentation. We were thrown out of the place by the cops, second time in less than a week, So we are pursuing a whole variety of possibilities. But in 2 days, Tuesday for us, Wednesday for you, 2 groups had their First Amendment rights suppressed from the left. This is all coming from the left, and we thank God for what you're doing. How long do we have you, Bradley? Because maybe we can take a call or ask a few more questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is 21 minutes after 4 o'clock. You're on Trento Vision on the video side with Tom Trento. CJ, Mark's not here. Mike is here, and we got another special guest in the audience. And we have Bradley Dean, who is he and Jake are Sons of Liberty, a patriotic Christian organization trying to simply awaken Americans, particularly our posterity, the kids that are coming after us, to whom we're passing the torch, as to how the Judeo-Christian worldview and principles form the foundation to this great country, which is being attacked and eroded by the left and this president who's a socialist Marxist. Bradley was at Spanish River High School in the beautiful town of Boca Raton on Wednesday, and he was there invited by a student group. All of this, the courts have already settled. That's why I said it's black and white. And some of the officials at the school did not want the students to hear his message. How stupid is that, you know?
Yep.
And we're going to show you the video after we say goodbye to Bradley. It's a couple of minutes, and it's very, very... what's the word I'm looking for? Very powerful video for sure. But let's take one call now from Dave. Dave, you're on the line with Bradley Dean, Sons of Liberty.
Well, good. Y'all sounding good today. Now, remember the song, Where Have All the Heroes Gone? Or you've been talking to one there with this guy. Boy, what a ministry and what courage and all the things it takes to be a returner to liberty and freedom. I admire this man so much, and just thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Dave. Hey, listen, we can do this thing together. I want Tom and everybody to understand, and all your listeners, I ain't trying to do anything. I'm doing it. And we can win this country, friends. I'm seeing this all across the country, Dave, that people are coming together. This swell, there's a grassroots swell going on across this country. And if America would just come together, turn the television off, get busy about winning and fighting for the freedoms that God gave us, we are going to win the day. And we are winning the day.
Amen. And we now are the media. The counterfeit media that's part of basically a fascist system where you team with government and corporations against another part of the population officially. That is fascism. Now, us as conservatives and God-fearing people, we have to be the media. We have to communicate stuff on the threats of Islam and the hate-filled effeminate crowd that don't understand that we have to reach out to them too. But thank God for what you're doing, and if a lot of good people come out and start communicating, we can win this battle. But if we don't, we lose.
That's right.
So bless your heart.
Thank you, sir. If I can interject a thought too, Tom, to what Dave just said, kind of off base a little bit, but it still makes my point. 86% of those that send their kids into public schools are patriots, Christians, and conservatives. And the kids in public schools are trying to figure out why their pastors love them so much and their parents love them so much. And they're trying to figure out why they're sitting in a school being indoctrinated by the administration they say they can't stand.
Yeah,
so
it is.
It exemplifies hypocrisy to no end.
It is bizarre. And then they got to deal with Glee. I watched Glee last night, that show. And it was really bizarre. It was Valentine's Day, Glee, and it ended in 5 bizarre sexual relationships. A lesbian relationship, 2 people in wheelchairs, 2 gay guys. I mean, really bizarre stuff that have totally pushing the envelope. And I said, look at this stuff. I mean, they're pushing every single piece of the envelope, and because they know they got a huge high school audience. Hey, Bradley, we're going to play your video right now, and then you can comment on it, okay?
Sounds good.
Here it goes. The video that was shot 2 days ago on Spanish River high school property.
I was really surprised that the teacher, well, I don't know if he was a teacher, but someone who worked at this school here, was telling the students that we're not supposed to uphold the constitutional values given by our founding fathers while on school property.
Please note, this presentation was pre-approved by the administration. Posters had been hung 3 weeks prior to the event, and it was also advertised in the morning.
It's illegal what you're doing. Well, you are violating my First Amendment. No, this is illegal. I've got 303 high schools. That's fine, and they probably approved this state. And they probably approved it.
But as any U.S. government,
That's not true.
you don't have the First Amendment rights when you're on
Then
the public.
as a system, I'm going to have to do it.
Listen again carefully as the teacher in the background states, you don't have a First Amendment right when you're on a public school campus.
And they probably approved it.
But as any U.S. government,
That's not true.
you don't have the First Amendment rights when you're on
Then
the public.
as a system, I'm going to have to do it. What was brought to your attention? It's on 340 high schools.
Well, I don't know what it is.
I don't either. We're trying to figure that one out too. This guy right here is telling me it's not going to happen here.
But I warn you children that everything this gentleman
Listen.
You've never seen our
Hey, you sir, that guy right there just told on himself. That's exactly what I'm talking about right there.
Let's go.
He just said it. Thank you. Hey.
Yeah, where's your free speech? Can you just use your free speech on a school campus? Wow, what a hypocrite. We can't.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging for... Yeah, it goes way too fast.
Okay, yeah.
I keep trying to, yeah.
All right, right now there's copy rolling, but the copy rolls too fast to read, and it's basically the First Amendment that just rolled. Now more video. After the event was canceled, the students went outside to hear Bradley's message. And now Bradley's speaking outside to them. Looks like you're in a swamp somewhere next to a highway. It's interesting.
It's also interesting, Tom, that I was actually I was still on school grounds right there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't. First of all, when I first walked on there, like I said, there was posters everywhere. They announced me through the morning announcements for a week. I was advertised for 3 weeks. So this was purposed. The way they did it was purposed, and they couldn't have did it at a more advantageous time for themselves. But they didn't expect that I was going to stand up and deal with the issues. And now they're finding out that Bradley Dean didn't drive 27 hours to be kicked off their school. And that's really what it comes down to.
Well, we're going to substantiate that. CJ, read the letter that Liberty Counsel wrote that's published on WorldNet Daily.
I don't want to read the whole thing.
Yeah,
but I'll read you a section. This is according to a letter from Horatio G. Mehet of the Liberty Counsel. The school must reverse its ban on Dean. Quote, the club must be permitted to have guest speakers Bradley Dean and the Sons of Liberty speak without the school censoring their message. Bradley Dean and Sons of Liberty Radio are on tour from Michigan and have other stops scheduled, the letter said today. If we do not hear from you, or if your decision is to uphold the principal's action in this case, we will proceed with filing a federal court action next week. At that time, we will seek a temporary restraining order against the school district to allow the American Club to host Bradley Dean and other speakers without unconstitutional censorship by school officials, and will seek damages. So, have you been kicked off other campuses before?
I had school in Arkansas. I was teaching the Constitution, and I had one of the superintendents walk down in the middle of my presentation, just started about 10 minutes into it. He said, can we go outside and talk? And I said, sure, let's go outside and talk. And as we walked outside, I was talking about, I believe, the Second Amendment at that time, and this is probably 3-4 years ago. And we stepped outside the building, and all of a sudden we heard 700 feet hitting the floor. The kids were saying, "Let him speak, let him speak, let him speak." Well, it happened to be a Christian principal that had a problem with me teaching the Constitution. That was one. I did another school in Missouri where I was showing a picture advocating life, little Samuel Armas putting his hand out of his mommy's womb while they were fixing his spine, and he grabbed the doctor's finger. I showed that picture to 600 kids in Missouri, where they have the highest drug rate in the country. And this principal comes out and he says, if this offends anybody, you can leave. One teacher, one student got up and walked out, and it was as if the Lord was saying, just stay there, guys. Bradley's not done yet. So he walks back. I'm looking at these 600 students. I just started being real candid with him. I said, you know what's interesting? I'm not advocating death. I'm advocating life. And this man's got a problem with what I just told you. About 2 minutes later, he came out because nobody left. He was offended that they didn't follow his lead. And he comes out and he says, hey, assembly over. There's an emergency at the school. The kids and the teachers knew
There's
he was
an
lying.
emergency. The truth is being told.
Truth alert, truth alert, truth alert.
This is what's important for you guys to hear. This is what I'm dealing with.
Yep.
All of a sudden, 600 kids and all the teachers in the school stood up and gave me a standing ovation.
Cool.
Apologized for their principal, came out to the bus. Same thing in Arkansas. We literally had the student body outside around my bus asking me for information, cards, books, whatever I could give them. They wanted it. And this is happening all across the country. This just happened a couple days ago in California, friends. They told them to take off their headbands. I was not there. This was in the news today. They took their headbands off. They walked back into the basketball game or the game that was being played in the gym, and the people started shouting USA. The American people need to realize that we're all saying the same things.
Yeah,
we just got to talk to each other. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, the conservatives. A conservative by definition is conservative.
Yeah.
And you go about your business in a conservative manner. You go about your family, all of that. But the conservatives, particularly the Christian conservatives and Jewish conservatives, we work with quite a few Jewish people, Bradley, here in all over the place fighting Islamic terrorism. And we're all really getting fed up with the left and the steamroller that Obama has right now. You're doing amazing work. How can people get in touch with you? Are you a 501c3 if people wanted to make donations? They're tax deductible?
Yes, I am, and thank you, Tom. And by the way, I got Jake right here who wants to give you an update. He just received the phone call from our attorney.
Oh,
and I'll
splendid.
give him to you in 2 seconds here. But the My War series, if you go to youcanruninternational.com, youcanruninternational.com, I have all of the stuff in detail on video as to what I just shared with you, getting kicked out of schools, and I go line upon line, precept upon precept, showing the parents and the politicians, those that serve we the people in the government, what is happening in public schools. But I want to encourage you, it's just the beginning of this. We're not too far gone. We can stand up and we can win the day. But if you check out youcanruninternational.com, you can get the My War series. That will support us. That will keep us out on the road. And with that, you get to see firsthand everything that's going on over the last 5 and 6 and 7 years. And the guy that did all the production is a guy named James Gillette, who did some work with Steven Spielberg. He loves our ministry, and he says, you know what, I got to help you guys out. And he did it second to none, high quality. Everybody reports back, this is great stuff. And I want the people to see it. But I got to tell you, I got to warn everybody, this is the content that this administration doesn't want you to see.
Yeah.
Because once you get this knowledge, you're dangerous.
All right, so the website is
youcanruninternational.com.
And
you
it's
can run international.com.
and the My War series, is that a DVD series?
Yep, it's a DVD series. It's a 5-part DVD series. It's about 7 hours long.
Okay, so they would buy that, and they can do it right online, buy that, and that helps support you and your amazing work.
Thank you. Yes,
Okay.
tremendously. And here's Jake right now.
Thank you, Bradley.
Yep, thank you very much for having me, guys.
All right, and we'll listen to Jake and get an update.
Hey.
We're now with Jake, one of the
Tom,
Sons
good
of
to be on
Liberty.
again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Jake. Good to talk to you again.
Hey, CJ. Listen, just really quick, so everybody that's following this along, and I know, Tom, you have your issue with FAU as well.
Yeah.
We need to see these things through. I just got a text message from our attorney, and he said, before we file suit, they are very ready to do it. Liberty Counsel is. They are waiting for the principal to see if they approve Daniel, one of the student group members, just filed a submission to the principal again today about that follow-up event. So stay tuned, stay in tune.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So-
Have you guys
Liberty
had to
Radio.
file a lawsuit before? Is this your first one?
Actually, we have. Yes, it would be. It would be. Yep.
Well, I
What
mean,
happens most of the time, though, is they buckle. They get wise and say, "Hey, we ain't going to win this."
yeah, I've been in a few of these, and 10 or 11 or 12 of them, and this is black and white. This is as clear as can be. Any attorney, and the school will have a firm that represents them. They'll take a look at this, and the lawyers, if they're smart, will say, let's figure out how to get these guys back here, okay? Because we don't want this kind of bad publicity in Boca Raton. So I think you're gonna
Because
see
think
these
of all the
guys.
free media you would get if you actually
Yeah.
were in a lawsuit with them. They'd
We-
be talking about your message all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
On the news.
We may send our Trento Vision team over to the school to do a little interview over
I would
there.
love to do that,
Yeah, we may
yes.
do
It needs to
that.
happen. I think that's what needs to happen. The pressure needs to be there, guys. And,
Yep.
you know, you're not looking to get famous off this. You're looking to save your country and to keep those values that you and
You
I
bet.
hold dear.
Yeah,
That's why we're doing this.
actually, when you do this sort of stuff, you become not famous. The opposite of that, you become
Infamous.
ridiculed, and
Notorious.
and you know there is no money, and it's very very difficult work.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jake, Bradley, thank you guys very very much. May God bless you continually in your work. Okay.
Have a great weekend, and please keep us informed. We're here for you.
We will, and we'll be following your situation, too. Thank you, guys.
All
right,
right, thank
thanks.
you.
Take care.
All right, 37
Awesome, I
minutes.
love those guys.
They're good.
Yeah,
37
they're
minutes
really
after the hour, and this hour is 4 o'clock.
Yep.
On a what kind of day out there,
Oh,
CJ?
it is cloudy. It is rainy. It is cool. It is a cool 66 degrees and raining here in Boca Raton, Florida. And listen to this. 43-degree low tomorrow night and 48-degree low on Sunday night.
Snow in Boca on the way. You can do the traffic report too.
I could do the traffic report.
Yeah, because we're waiting for somebody.
Yeah, there's an accident on southbound I-95 in Palm Beach County where our guest is having a difficult time making it to the studio, and here he is.
Oh, he's just walking in on cue, no
Right
less.
on cue.
Hello
I guess he
there, our
cleared the
favorite attorney.
accident.
How you doing? Watch the wires. Watch the wires. As we're getting Peter Feynman all set, just a little comment on Bradley, Dean, and Jake, the Sons of Liberty. You can run international.com. Go to their website. They had a confrontation. I guess they're a Christian ministry. They're Christians. They have a ministry, but their message is primary message is a Americana patriotic message.
They teach the Constitution and what the founding fathers and their documents were all about.
Ooh, that's pretty offensive.
Yeah,
Well,
I would shut that down right away, especially in a high school where
Well,
you
it is.
wouldn't want to teach the history of the United States.
It is offensive nowadays to a lot of people, the Constitution. When in particular you have a president trying to circumvent through a variety of modalities the Constitution, then it does become an offensive document. These guys were on campus 2 days ago, invited by a student group, completely legitimately protected by case law, by laws that have already been argued and established on a federal level. And he kept referring to the teacher as an effeminate,
Yes.
a euphemism for gay, because
he
Bradley
didn't want to make the assumption.
he didn't want to make it. Bradley has spoken out against homosexuality as an offense and heterosexuality outside of marriage. He speaks out on both of those
Yes.
as an offense to God as a Christian, which I think the Christian message is. And
It used to be anyway.
used
I
to
don't
be.
think it is anymore.
So, but this program he has for the schools is a patriotic one, and the effeminate teacher came over and told the students, were you listening in the car?
I was.
Yeah.
Am I on? Can
Yeah,
you-
yeah. What were your thoughts on all of that?
Well,
we have
fir-
Peter Feynman here, ladies and gentlemen. Yay!
The first thing I thought of was the fact that I have 3 children that graduated from Spanish River High School. So things must have changed dramatically, because I have one that's graduated in '99, and she's a Republican and a DNA scientist. Another one that graduated in 2000. He's a Republican, graduated from Spanish River. And the third one is a captain in the Marine Corps, and I can guarantee you he's a Republican. So I don't know what's going on over there at Spanish River, but it certainly seemed different back then.
Well, it could have something to do with
their daddy.
What you taught them at home.
Maybe their daddy, yeah. Maybe we need you speaking at Spanish River.
I would bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on. That'd be fun.
The Feynman of Liberty. And in any event, we will keep you posted on the Sons of Liberty saga. I think the school is going to say, we don't want to fight this battle. It's a stupid battle to fight. A quick update before we get into stuff with Peter Feynman here. Quick update on the FAU. I'll just tell you about it. The Florida Atlantic University confrontation that Trento Vision had as an organization, as a media organization, with credentials, press credentials. We've had them for many, many years. And in particular, there was an article that came out in BizPac Review by Alan Bergstein, our friend, who mentioned, and we don't mention it publicly, but when you get credentials, press credentials for the presidential debate that was at Lynn University or the RNC, as we've been there, you have to get approval through the Secret Service. You got to be sliced and diced and scoured and looked up one side and down the other, and you get your scoping on both ends. I mean, it's a whole deal in order to get these sort of credentials. And they work well for the Secret Service. They don't work too well at Florida Atlantic University. So as our listeners and viewers know, last week, the 6th, Wednesday the 6th, we tried to go into an event with Greta Berlin, a Marxist founder of the Free Gaza movement, and videotape her story so we can play it to the world. And we were literally stopped and not allowed in by the Florida Atlantic Police Department. And then 6 days later, on the 12th of February, Tuesday, we were going to go in and videotape Josh Rubner. He is a former employee of the U.S. government, and he was doing a teach-in on how horrible Israel is and how our relationships between the United States and Israel, how the Israeli relationship to the United States destroys our diplomatic efforts worldwide.
Yeah, specifically going after AIPAC and the so-called Zionist lobby is having undue influence in our schools, universities, and halls of Congress.
That was the copy in the publicly advertised event at a public university. And we were going to go in, videotape it, and then let everybody see it. Because these things, you only have maybe 10, 20, 30 people at these events. We wanted to expose what's going on the campuses. This is what America's about. Not only were we stopped, they were ready for us, and we Mark Campbell and myself came this close to getting arrested. And now, between the 6th and the 12th, I had tried personally 10 times to get a clarification on the school policy for the media. And we were shuttled from the legal department. I don't want to deal with you guys. I talked to the top guy there, Larry Glick or whatever his name is. It's all down on a log. I'm not dealing with you. Go to media. Go to buildings. We went to buildings, and they ran away and wouldn't answer the phone several times. Literally ran away. It's in the video. They sent us, finally I got a receptionist there, said you have to go to media. And I tried and tried and tried at media, and I said I'll be calling back at 3 o'clock on a particular day and put you on the air.
Well, media wouldn't answer the department phone. It's not just individuals who wouldn't answer. It was the entire department was on voicemail for like 3 days.
Hey, folks, I know they're listening. They've been watching.
Yeah.
We're going to tell this story.
We're going to roast you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've roasted yourselves. All we're going to do is let the world see, as we put the timeline together with one of our videos, we substantiate it with all the documentation. I made a records request. I asked. Then they finally sent me a policy after the fact, a posteriori, after the fact, and said, you're supposed to contact us first to get permission to go in.
Yeah, except if you don't answer the phone, how do we do that?
It's hard to do that. So I wrote back and said, okay, yeah, sure, this is going to work. I wrote back, thank you, whatever. And then I asked for the actual agreement. Typically, there's an agreement between the school and the sponsoring body,
the sponsors,
which lays out the particulars, the authority that the venue has or the organization has. So, and I'll tell you what we're looking at. We want to see, because they kept saying the students have the right, you're a lawyer, the students have the right to determine who can go in the classroom. I asked the black police officer when he was saying, they don't want you in here with a camera. I said, suppose they said no black people allowed in.
Right.
Do they have that authority too?
Right.
And where does this go? And he looked at me, and I asked them again. Suppose they said no black people. What?
And you said no
where do
Jewish
they get this
people
authority?
too.
And Mark goes, "What about Jewish people?" You know.
Yeah.
What is the locus of the legal position that the students have to unilaterally, independently determine who can come in their classroom, particularly if it's the media? How does that work? In any event, that's the update. We're waiting to hear back. We're filing a FOIA request. And try burning your emails, folks. We want to see all the emails between the departments if they prepared for us going there and see how that works out. Because, as you know, this lawyer can attest to it. You can burn the email, but it kind of stays there, doesn't it?
Kind of stays there. So do the cell phone records.
And if you get rid of your computer, that doesn't look good.
I can tell you,
Doesn't work for texting either.
in legal discovery, we have found that emails are the gift that keep on giving.
Text messages.
They never go away.
I almost want them to burn them because that doesn't look good before the jury.
No,
you know?
I've had cases like that. It's fine.
like that.
Yes, but it's too bad. I've been in the Boca area now for 30 years, and FAU is an asset to our community. And so we don't want to send the wrong message that it's FAU. It's what happens is so many college campuses today is that the leftist, fascist extremists have taken over the political discourse in the university and the rest of the good folks at FAU from within, because there are a lot of good folks there.
Yes.
They need to stand up and reclaim the university and say, hey, this is not what FAU is. FAU should be a beacon of freedom, free speech, hope, prosperity, and hey, you noisy minority of fascists and anti-Israelites, go away. Go away. You're sullying our institution because it's a good institution. So we want to make that distinction. And I think we want to call on the FAU administration, who are by and large good people, and say, hey, reclaim your university here so that it stands for all people, just not people who have a certain political bent, which, by the way, that's the question you brought up. You mentioned this leftist, but why are so many leftists anti-Israel? What gives?
Well, let's pursue that in the next hour. That's a very good topic. You can be the diplomat. He's the diplomat. We'll go in and knock the doors down. You can be the diplomat.
Well, he's trying to soften us up because he knows we're going to beat
the hell out of him.
Party.
Yeah. We'll tell you about that in a second.
Hey, the Republican Party has a long way to go. But,
wait, hang on.
I got news for you.
Wait. We're going to get into all that. But let me finish with FAU.
By the way, I wanted to call into your show, and I didn't know the number. What's the number if somebody wanted to call in?
We don't give it that much. It's,
no.
888-565-14. We talk among ourselves here. Everybody listens in. 888-565-1470. But the Josh Rubner event last Wednesday, the 12th, not only was it advertised on the posters in the school, it was advertised on Facebook on a public advertisement on Facebook. So we're establishing the public nature of this. And in the public nature, we caught all of this. We have all this information. It said that Noor Fazli, the head of Students for Justice in Palestine, which is the Muslim Brotherhood and a Hamas entity, basically, part of the Solidarity Movement, International Solidarity Movement, she said that something to the effect of praise the Lord, but Muslims don't exactly say that. They said 3 professors are giving students extra credit for coming to this class. Right? It was a 3-hour teach-in. I've been on college campuses for 35 years, all over the country. I've spoken on hundreds and hundreds of campuses. I love the academy. I don't care. In one sense, I don't care if these people are there. In fact, we want them to be there, but we want to expose them for who they are. They're leftist, anti-Jewish, anti-American people. We want cameras in there. We want people in there saying, okay, this is what you're all about. When you shine that kind of light on them, and they come into our deal, they can come in with cameras when we're speaking publicly. I'm not going to tell them you can't videotape me or you doing something. Why are they hiding? What are they trying to hide? No cameras in this anti-Jewish teaching.
That's amazing. Extra credit for anti-Semitism.
Extra credit. And so we're going to get the names
Sounds
of
like Berlin in the 1930s.
In deposition, we'll find out if we pursue a lawsuit.
Wow.
We'll find out who the those three professors are.
Extra credit to listen to anti-Israel diatribes.
I want to know who those professors
That's
are.
amazing.
Yep.
You'd probably get an F in that course,
I know,
Trento.
I'd fail that course.
Yeah.
I know. But anyway, good to have you here, Peter
Thank you.
Feynman. Before we get into the particulars,
We
What happened?
made the Sun Sentinel.
Okay, well, we
Yeah,
also
we
made Hardball. Chris
We made
Matthews
the Sun
Hardball. We were on
Sentinel.
that.
No, I can't
Yes.
believe it's on the Sun Sentinel. Wow.
What is it?
A video company is accusing FAU of violating its First Amendment rights after campus police kicked its representatives out of a public meeting. Meetings of a group called Students for Justice in Palestine, first on February 6th, blah, 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 then on February 12th. The FAU police aggressively stopped the Trento Vision team from recording the exact presentation, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera.
Did you have to pay to get in?
No,
No, it was free. It was open to the public.
Public event. It was a free public event.
Edition because let's be.
That's
Grab the mic. Grab the mic.
I'm the diplomat here.
Yes, you are.
Let's be.
Yes.
As a matter of law, if you've paid to go to an event, and let's say it's a motivational speaker, what he has is protected as copyrighted material.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be prohibited from filming what he's doing because that's his intellectual property. That's his copyright.
Mm-hmm.
So there are instances where you can lawfully be prohibited from videotaping a presentation. So we want
know
to make that clear.
Yes, we know that,
Okay.
and we've dealt with that, and that had nothing to do. That gentleman right there, we're not naming him. He and that gentleman right there were in the room on the 6th, set the cameras up, and Noor Fazzi, the woman who heads up Students for Justice for Palestine, saw him. I know you. You've demonized me in a video. I don't want you in here. Get out. We have that on videotape. Now, Mr. Lawyer, how's that work?
That doesn't work.
Okay.
That dog doesn't hunt.
Okay. Now,
Okay.
it's fine if you're inside a mosque or if you're inside her home.
Right, that's private property.
But if you're inside the academy in a
Right.
publicly advertised event, I don't like you because of how you've represented me. Get out. And the cops threw both of them out.
Funny how the academy arose as a response in the Renaissance to the censorship of the Catholic Church, and the academy arose as a way where you could have a free expression of ideas. And now the academy, in essence, is taking the side of Islam, fighting a free expression and exchange of
All
ideas.
over the United
The whole
States.
thing turns on its
Yep,
head.
yep.
It's amazing, and that's coming from a Catholic.
What is this?
MSA.
It's
the FAU MSA.
What are they saying?
They've got a whole bunch. They're advertising Josh Rubner's speech. It's not just the Students for Justice in Palestine.
Oh, so
you've
The MSA is in
You've got real life
so it already-
censorship issues going on.
Yeah,
here.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And fascism. Let's not forget so many leftists these days are fascists. They use physical violence, intimidation, and bullying to silence those that disagree with them. Last time I checked, that's fascism.
Yeah, no, you're looking good. You're sounding
Okay.
good. How's your pro bono feel going on there?
I'm filled up with pro bono material at this time.
No, you're not. Got room for one more.
Hey, America, do you want
Listen.
to? He doesn't understand this kind of law anyway. It's constitutional.
I
It's
profess.
First Amendment.
I understand the Constitution. I resemble that remark. But I am.
We need an
I do
expert.
profess to be a Christian lawyer, and my website says that it is dedicated to the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Jesus. However, that still doesn't mean that we give it away for free.
Give it away for free.
Yeah.
I know by experience
No,
that
not
you don't
Abraham.
give it away for free.
Not,
But
not Muhammad.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, what we have to do right now, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to kind of shake our hands and heads and all that, come back, and we're going to ask Peter Feynman what the hell is going on with the Republican Party, because he just got back from Charlotte, North Carolina, and he's going to tell us if we're all going to blow up the party or we're going to build up the party. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Tom Trento can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. And tune in again weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
The next time you finally get around to rearranging that messy closet or cleaning out the garage, why not also set aside time to put your financial house in order and become more financially responsible? There are several steps you can take to organize your finances, which can save you money and prevent financial hassles in the future. While you're taking the time to analyze your financial situation, take a look at your credit report to be sure it's accurate. Clean up bad credit by paying bills on time and paying down your outstanding credit balances. Having all of your accounts at your fingertips will make managing your finances an easier and more efficient process. Organize your financial paperwork and discard obsolete documents, but don't leave yourself open to ID theft. Be sure to dispose all unnecessary documents by shredding them. For more tips on how to clean up your finances, call the National Foundation for Credit Counseling today at 1-800-388-2227 or visit them online at nfcc.org. A public service message from the NFCC.
Life can hit you with the unexpected. The loss of a job, a sudden illness, a dramatic jump in your mortgage payment, leaving you feeling helpless, forcing you to make difficult decisions. If you've fallen behind on your mortgage, are worried about financial problems, or are afraid of foreclosure, it's time to take control. You don't have to lose your home. The National Foundation for Credit Counseling can help. Seek advice from our certified housing counselors today. Call us at 866-687-6322 or visit mortgagehelpnow.org. The National Foundation for Credit Counseling. Real solutions for real people.
The National Foundation for Credit Counseling is a nonprofit organization that has been providing financial counseling and education for 60 years. Our national network of member agencies have helped millions of consumers with foreclosure prevention. NFCC member agencies are approved by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
The bond between a child and a horse is special. When that child is physically or mentally challenged, the results are magical. Horses and the Handicapped of South Florida has been providing equine-assisted therapy to hundreds of children, the majority of which could never afford this highly beneficial therapy on their own. It's a great cause, and here's a great way to help. Grab your boots and join us on Friday, March 1st at 7 p.m. at Ron Bergeron's Green Glades Ranch in Weston for the 3rd annual Wild West Night. This fun and exciting evening will feature great food and drink. Try an alligator Ron, live music with the Barron Sisters and the Andrews Morris Band. A live and silent auction featuring a Taylor Swift autographed guitar, live writing demonstrations, and much, much more. It's all to celebrate the legacy of Megan Morency. And all the proceeds go to Horses and the Handicapped. Wild Wild West Night, Friday, March 1st. For tickets, visit hhsfl.org. That's hhsfl.org.
This is Health and Wealth Radio, AM 1470, WWNN Pompano Beach, and WKIS HD3, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
IRN USA Radio News, I'm Hope Duggar. The Army's top officer says budget cuts may force some soldiers in Afghanistan next year to stay longer than planned.
General Ray Odierno says the cuts would drastically limit training for brigades who might have to replace the troops in Afghanistan next year, and if he cannot make up the training delays.
I either have to send in forces that aren't ready,
or have to extend those that are already there.
Odierno says forcing troops to stay longer than planned is a very big concern, and he tells a Washington think tank audience the Army would try to divert money to avoid that. Sagar Meghani at the Pentagon.
There's a 26-foot wide crater in the ice on a reservoir in Russia caused by a piece of the meteor that exploded over the Ural Mountains today, and that wasn't the only impact. Thousands of buildings were damaged, most with broken windows, after the explosion sent a shockwave to the ground some 20 to 30 miles below. This is IRN USA Radio News.
With the Ace Bag Sale this Saturday, getting 20% off almost everything you can fit into a bag takes planning. Say you spot some light bulbs. You might not want to put those in the bag first, especially if you add a gallon of paint, which is also 20% off, like the duct tape, which will help if the bag tears when you add a second gallon of paint, which will make the whole bag 20% off and very heavy. At Ace, the helpful place. Discount is off regular priced in-stock merchandise that fits inside one bag at one time. Good at participating stores February 16th only. Limit one bag and offer per customer. Other conditions apply. See store for details.
Today, most people are more likely to get a pay cut than a cost of living raise. But I have good news for you. You can build your own golden parachute. Hi, how in the world are you anyway? I'm Andy Willoughby, and I think you'll find that the 3-step plan home business system is a great solution to money worries. You can add to your income in your spare time. For information, go to 3Step USA or call 800-480-2102. 800-480-2102.
Recess gives more time for opponents of Chuck Hagel to sharpen attacks against the defense secretary nominee. They're promising to redouble their efforts to scour Hagel's record and pressure senators to vote against him. While Senate Republicans succeeded in delaying his confirmation this week, they signaled they would eventually relent and allow an up or down vote after returning from recess. But that leaves an uncomfortable gap for Hagel and the White House, which doesn't want any surprises to further delay or possibly derail Hagel's confirmation. Americans for a Strong Defense, for example, is stepping up a grassroots campaign to flood Senate offices with calls from constituents who want Hagel's nomination rejected. The White House says Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will meet with President Barack Obama next Friday. Economic and trade issues, as well as Japan's security partnership with the U.S., are on the agenda for the White House meeting. Obama has also said the two will discuss a response to North Korea's test this week of a nuclear device at a remote underground site. For the latest news and analysis, log on to IRNUSAnews.com.
With the Ace Bag Sale this Saturday, getting 20% off almost everything you can fit into a bag takes planning. Say you spot some light bulbs. You might not want to put those in the bag first, especially if you add a gallon of paint, which is also 20% off, like the duct tape, which will help if the bag tears when you add a second gallon of paint, which will make the whole bag 20% off and very heavy. At Ace, the helpful place. Discount is off regular priced in-stock merchandise that fits inside one bag at one time. Good at participating stores February 16th only. Limit one bag and offer per customer. Other conditions apply. See store for details.
New Yorkers are wondering what a plastic foam-free city might look like after Mayor Michael Bloomberg proposed an all-out ban of the food packaging product. Industry groups say a ban on polystyrene foam would mean more expensive alternatives like aluminum containers. The mayor says polystyrene foam is bad for the environment and expensive for the city to process. A similar proposal has stalled in the city council in recent years. Officials have confirmed that the former Los Angeles policeman who went on a shooting rampage is dead.
Coroner's officials have positively identified the remains of the charred body that was found in a burned-out cabin in San Bernardino Mountains as Christopher Jordan Dorner.
Correspondent Tammy Abdullah reports authorities were fairly certain that Christopher Dorner had died inside the cabin, which caught fire.
He led officials on a car chase that involved multiple shootouts. A deputy was killed during one of those shootouts. And during his run, he was positively identified visually by some of the officials that he met along the way who made eye contact and said, "That's Chris Dorner."
A $47 million library dedicated to promoting the ideals of George Washington and scholarship about the Founding Father is scheduled to open in September. The center will serve as a presidential library of sorts, but it will not be a part of the National Archives, as is the case for modern presidential libraries. It will also be home for a rotating group of scholars who will live at the estate and study various topics related to the Founding Fathers and Washington's life. The library also plans to host conference groups that want to hold their events in a historic setting. With IRN US.
Here's some great news from Tom Trento, host of the daily WNN Trento Vision Show. Due to the unparalleled success of the Trento Vision Show, you now have an amazing opportunity to advertise on the Trento Vision Show. If you want more information about this excellent opportunity for your business, please contact Tom Trento at 561-319-5533, or you can email him, tom@TrentoVision.com. TrentoVision.tv. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to TrentoVision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. TrentoVision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or Tom at TrentoVision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and TrentoVision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
The new school prayer. The new school prayer. Now I sit me down in school, where praying is against the rule. For this great nation under God finds mention of him. Very odd. If Scripture now the class recites, it violates the Bill of Rights, and any time my head I bow becomes a federal matter now. Our hair can be purple, orange, or green. That's no offense. It's freedom seen. The law is specific, the law is precise. Prayers spoken aloud are a serious vice. For praying in a public hall might offend some with no faith at all. In silence alone we must meditate. God's name is prohibited by the state. We're allowed to cuss and dress like freaks and pierce our noses, tongues, and cheeks. They've outlawed guns, but first the Bible. To quote the good book makes me liable. We can elect a pregnant senior queen and the unwed daddy our senior king. It's appropriate to teach right. It's inappropriate to teach right from wrong. We're taught that such judgments do not belong. We can get our condoms and birth control, study witchcraft, vampires, and totem poles, but the 10 Commandments are not allowed. No word of God must reach this crowd. It's scary here, I must confess. When chaos reigns, the school's a mess. So, Lord, this silent plea I make, should I be shot, my soul please take. Amen. Pretty cool, man. The Next Nightmare, Peter Feynman's new book. Where'd you get that prayer, Peter? That is pretty powerful.
I found some research there and published that book, and I had no idea it would become so relevant because the book came out just before the shootings.
Sandy Hook, yeah.
Sandy Hook, yeah. And I'm sorry that it became prophetic, but it did.
Did you do anything? Sandy Hook was, I believe, the 14th of December, I believe. Yeah, just before Christmas.
Correct.
We came in here and found out that that's how bad. We spent 3 hours on it. Did you do anything with that prayer after the shooting to get it out, or?
No, I did not. When I speak, though, on my book or at other gatherings as the National Committee man, I read it.
Who wrote it?
It was written by a high school student in Arizona who now has somehow gone into anonymity, and nobody knows who it was. And my personal opinion, came from an angel.
Yeah,
that's just my personal opinion.
That's pretty good. I mean,
now it's our job to get it out.
Yeah. No, very good, and it's very appropriate to our second hour where we had Bradley Dean in, Sons of Liberty, who were thrown out of school. Your 3 kids who have done well, graduated from, and as we explained our sad situation, I've taken many classes after 9/11. I have a pretty strong background in this stuff, but after 9/11, I wanted to focus in on Middle East studies, and I took a bunch of courses, the extended learning stuff under Waleed Faris at FAU.
Right.
So I was there like every
Waleed.
week, and I went to a million lectures there. We've rented the facilities for some of our events.
Right.
It's a phenomenal place. Relatives I know and friends, a bunch of people go there. I was at a Owls basketball game about 2 weeks ago, women's basketball.
Their football team's coming back when they're on Campus Stadium.
Yeah. Beautiful campus. So 30,000 students now. 30,000 students. So we don't hate FAU. We hate the suppression of free speech media, the suppression of the media on the campus. And don't say you got to follow the rules and sign up when you don't answer the phone. Is that you have a default policy, folks, that all you have to do if you don't like someone who wants to bring their cameras in is not answer the phone, and you don't violate the policy, but you actually do by not answering and responding, and even emails and all of that. But in any event, that's pretty neat. Let's find out what's going on with Peter Feynman. Feynman Law. Do you have the phone number? Feynman Law. Somebody wants a lawyer.
Do I have the phone number? Sure. 561.
CJ usually gives it when we do our commercial spots for you.
Well, I'm not here to promote my law practice. However, I do admit to being a lawyer, and a pretty good one.
There is somebody driving right now. It's 5 to 6. This is a big drive time. They're jumping in their cars. They just ran out of a situation where they found out that their ex-partner is screwing them like crazy, cheating them, whatever. They're going, I got to find a good lawyer. Can you recommend one?
I can.
Who would that be?
Peter Feynman.
Feynman, FeynmanLaw.com. And the number is?
561-734-5552.
There we go. Peter Feynman. If you'd like to talk to him,
nice.
888-565-1470. 888-565-1470. We will have the lawyer hour right now. If you have any questions about any stuff, now this is you can't give legal opinion.
Well,
yes,
here's the good news is that if I can't help you with all the people I do know, I can pretty much find somebody that
Do we
that
tell
can.
everybody that?
Yeah.
Tell people that all
That
the
you
time.
can refer. 30 years, and you've done only, what, 1 or 2 sentences for malpractice, or what? You've avoided all of that?
Pretty much.
Okay, good.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
But I want to tell you the new motto of the Republican National Committee, at least the one I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
It's real simple. Okay. Our cause is freedom. Our mission is truth. That's it.
Oh, that'll win you in the
So
your
there you have it.
balloon, your balloon just got...
Now attack me, right? You're going to attack truth? You're going to attack freedom? Go ahead.
Wait,
Have
I
at
got to
it.
tell the audience what's going on.
Okay.
About a month ago, we had Peter in here, and we told him, all right, you got to do something with this party. He is the elected committee man from the state of Florida to the Republican National Committee. There's only 50 people in the United States, one from each country. Peter is one of 50.
One from
He got
each
elected.
state, not each country.
Each state, yeah. There's 57 states in America. So from each state, Peter got elected unanimously in this state from each of the 67
Counties.
Counties.
Correct.
And now he travels away from here, typically Washington, except when the inauguration is taking place.
We won't go to Washington when he's there.
Yeah.
The one who shall remain nameless.
Shall remain nameless.
Yes.
So
Obama.
when he was here last, we said, okay, we have some serious problems. And I'm since I became a Christian back in the 70s or so, I'm a
have his message
lifelong Republican. Okay. But I got to admit, seriously now, I'm having like second thoughts when this party is just shaky. So we told Peter, go find, or when you go there, please find out, bring us information. And CJ's been wanting to beat the hell out of Peter for a while. So what is your concern with Peter? What do you want to find out right now in this hour?
Okay, what I want to find out is when
Our
is the
cause is just, and we love everybody, and
I
vote
was
for
hoping
us.
for something a little less squishy to come out of that meeting, quite frankly.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
That was pretty bad.
I want some meat and potatoes. I want to
freedom
see
fighters.
some claws,
We're freedom
some
fighters.
talons.
Our CIA official in the first hour, he said, "Look, we're going to try to reach out to Iran, but if there's a war, we'll have to smoke them." So we're that's the kind of stuff we're
Yeah,
looking
what's the plan to take back the party to its true conservative roots and to take back the country through
All right.
elections?
Well, first of all, did you see the message from the Republican Party of Florida chairman that came out today, Lenny Curry?
Yeah.
It was published exclusively at BizPac Review. If you can go there, bizpacreview.com.
Yep, we tell
Okay.
them all the time.
And he wrote an article today that says first and foremost, we need to embrace the Tea Party, the 912ers, and the other groups that stand for freedom and to get the government under control.
Right.
And so that is the first message, is that
But he wasn't at your meeting.
he was.
He was. But
Yeah,
that's
there's three representatives from each state.
Okay.
There's your party chairman,
Right.
and that's Lenny Curry,
Okay.
and his message today.
Okay.
There's National Committee woman, and because we can't be genderphobes here in the RNC, right?
So you have to have a quota for women?
And there's a National Committee woman and a National Committee man from each state. Now, it just so happens Florida's National Committee woman is also the co-chair of the entire RNC. So Florida is got going up there. So we are going to change things, and we're going to shake things up. As I said last night, 2 nights ago, when I spoke to the Palm Beach County Republican Executive Committee, there's a whole crop of freshman committeemen like me, staunch conservatives, principled people who understand that if we don't get rid of the consultant elites and their control of the party, we're doomed.
Right.
But that's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen. First and foremost, the people like Karl Rove, they have no clue as to the deficiencies we have in technology compared to the Obamaites, and how to campaign using social media. We thought we were doing well because we caught up to the Obamaites in what they did in the 2008 campaign. Except what we forgot was the Obamaites spent 4 years getting up to 2012. Why we think we're doing well because we caught up to them what they did in 2008. And, here's the sad part. A couple of our 20-something guys and early 30 technology guys approached American Crossroads, which is Karl Rove's PAC and others, and they were just politely dismissed. They still think that, phone calls, direct mail, and TV ads are going to carry the day, and that's just wrong.
Well, that's where their friends and businessmen make their money.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to change, too.
They have all these old shops, sure, of course.
They have all the old shops, they make their money, but they don't win elections. And they're trying to marginalize Tea Party people who identify themselves as Tea Party conservatives, whether they actually are Tea Party members or not, and they want to kick us out of the Republican Party, and they want to turn the Republican Party into what?
How can you say we want to kick you out? Didn't you read Chairman Curry's message?
I'm talking about the Karl Rove people. I'm talking about the consultants.
Right.
They're the ones who raise the money. They're the ones who carry the day and determine who gets money during election cycles and who doesn't.
Oh, wait. Here's the governor's aide calling me right now.
Oh, well, take that
Kurt
call.
Sigmeister. Should I take this call?
Yeah, go ahead, take that call.
But you're on the air, so be careful.
Yeah.
Kurt Sigmeister. Peter Feynman here. How are you? Good. How's the governor?
Tell him you're on the air. Don't let him. I mean, he may want not.
He's good. Well, listen, I'm not going to put you on the speakerphone because right now I'm on the air, 1470 AM in Boca Raton, and I have you in my left ear, and I'm speaking into the radio microphone and you at the same time.
And this is what we're reading.
And we just happened to be discussing Florida's GOP's chairman, Lenny Curry's op-ed today that appeared in BizPac Review, encouraging the Tea Party folks to come join us, get involved to defeat the rising tide of statism that's taking over this country. So, Kurt, what do you have to say about that as your Kurt Sigmeister, ladies and gentlemen?
All right, Kurt Sigmeister, how are you?
There he goes. Okay.
There we go.
The governor's representative for South Florida. Calling in. Kurt, if you want to call the show, the number is 888-565-1470. The folks here would probably like to ask you some questions about what the governor's doing to fight Obamacare. And so this is an unabashedly conservative radio station, Kurt.
He's like, okay,
So
I'll talk to you later.
there you go. And by the way, Kurt is a local product as well. Works
Did
for
he
the
go to
governor.
Spanish River
He went to Wellington High School.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure at Wellington High School they still have free speech. Well, maybe I'm not so sure, but we had that discussion earlier today, too. Things have changed on the campuses, but we need to change them back. So, Kurt, anyway, I know you're calling about official business, so let me call you after the hour is over.
We could hear him. I could hear him. I could pull the mic away from him.
Good. Well, that's fantastic. So here's the thing: tune to 1470, and you can get I'll report what you said, and we'll talk about the governor's reaction to all of this as well. All right, very good. Thanks for calling, Kurt, and tell the governor that we're all behind him down here. We'll talk about him. All right, Kurt, good to hear from you. Take care. All right, bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, live. Our guest right here is getting calls just unexpectedly. Oh, excuse me, my phone's ringing. Yes. Yeah. Oh, it's the head of the United Nations. Hang on, it's Mr. Ban Kun Kim. No. Tell BB I'm busy. Okay, I'll call him back later. Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay, but no, you're getting calls right in the middle. From what was that all about?
That was Kurt Siegmeister relaying a message from the governor. The governor spoke here in Palm Beach on Monday to the Forum Club, but then on Thursday morning made a special visit to some folks of the Republican Executive Committee here in Palm Beach County, certain grassroots types folks who emphasized the importance the governor did of the grassroots, emphasize the importance of the Tea Party folks, and emphasize the importance of reaching out. He unabashedly criticized the Romney campaign, and when asked, what happened in that campaign, he said, it wasn't hard for me to see. He said they didn't reach out. They thought television ads was how to do it. He said, no. He said, we're going to reach out to people. We're going to put Republican headquarters in places that have never seen Republicans, let alone Republican headquarters. He mentioned West Boynton, West Boca, Riviera Beach, Lake Worth, and we were going to have full-time staff Republican headquarters starting in a couple of months to reach out to people of the message of, he says we should be the party of first-generation Americans.
Theoretically,
not
of course.
Democrats. Why is that? Because our message is freedom, opportunity, family values. Why do immigrants come here? Freedom, opportunity, family values.
See, here's where we're caught in a time warp. Yeah. This is the philosophical. This is a philosophical argument, and certainly a very philosophical, historic position that people want to come to America for freedom. My grandparents left Sicily and Italy and all of this. Right now, though, we've shifted from the philosophical to the pocketbook. Yep. Immigrants are coming because they know they can get money and stuff and food stamps, the EBT cards and phones and school and anchor babies. And, I mean, how do you defeat that? How do you defeat a party that makes one phone call to Richard Trumka, Richard Trumka, head of the AFL-CIO, oh, yeah. And Trumka delivers $500 million to the Obama campaign and 450,000 union workers to go out and says, guess what, guys? On Saturday, everybody's doing this.
Well, you're mixing things up, though, Tom, because the union workers are not pro-unbridled immigration because they realize a lot of their jobs could be taken by the undocumented aliens.
I'm referring.
So you're mixing two things.
Well, I'm referring to the ground game, the original deal where Romney did not have a ground game. Yeah. The Democrats are geniuses at the ground game, getting the GOTV, all of that stuff. But they could make one phone call and they have an army, a literal army around the block. All right,
We're changing that.
Let's take a call from Liberal Bob. And we got a bunch of callers, so we're going to ask you guys to make it pretty quick with Peter Feynman, and then we'll see what you have. Liberal Bob, you're on with Peter Feynman.
You guys are pathetic.
We love you too, Bob. But,
you really are. I mean, you're pathetic. You missed the whole point of the election, and you're trying to grasp back what it was all about. I'm glad you got off the Israeli and Palestinian stuff. But let me tell you, you guys are pathetic. You had no message, nothing. Tea Party, forget about it, okay? And let me tell you one other thing. In terms of ground organization, there is nobody that you can tell me that one guy in the AFL-CIO. I mean, where have you been? You just won 8 years of the presidency. Where have you been?
All right, what's your question, Bob? We know all of this. What's your question?
My question is, where have you been?
What does that mean? Where have you been? I don't understand that.
Well, where have you been? What if we had a president called Mitt Romney? Where would we be? Better said.
Okay, there you go, Peter.
That's
there
a
you
great thing. Well, the economy wouldn't be where it is today. You know, after 4 years of Ronald Reagan, the economy was much better than it is after 4 years of Obama. Unemployment had come down dramatically. Employment increased dramatically. I mean, if you compare the two track records of the first 4 years of Obama after a recession and the first 4 years of Reagan after a recession, there's no comparison. Because Reagan was a unifier. He wasn't a divider. In a minute.
Hang on, Bob. Hang on, Bob.
You know, Reagan spread a message of hope, not a message of doom and gloom like Mr. President. I dare say, Liberal Bob, that this president is probably the most divisive president we've ever had in the history of the United States. Your turn. Go.
Okay. Who was the House of Representatives? Guy from Massachusetts.
Tip O'Neill.
That worked very hard with Reagan.
Yes, he did.
Okay? You will admit that.
I will gladly admit that, and I'll tell you why. Because Mr. Reagan actively reached out to Mr. O'Neill, invited him to the White House, had dinner with him on numerous occasions, including a couple of drinks on numerous occasions, and they talked about the greatness of America. And that's what they agreed on, the greatness of America. And because of their agreement on that, they were willing to work together. I'd like to see Obama invite Mr. Boehner to the White House, talk about the greatness of America, and then go out and work together. But Obama doesn't do that. He doesn't try to reach out the way Reagan did.
O'Neill was a different
All right, thank
I'm
you.
glad you brought that
Thank you,
up.
Bob. We got to get going for the next call. Let's
Tip
take
O'Neill was a different
All right,
kind
see you,
of
Bob.
Democrat and the Democrat Party of 30 years ago is not the
Not the same.
Democrat Party of today, and
That's
that's the
right.
problem that we have.
And we haven't changed. The Republicans really haven't, and that's
I mean,
part of the
look
problem.
at Dick Durbin and Schumer. They're nothing like Tip
No, I
O'Neill.
know.
They're antagonistic, divisive, and negative.
Hey, Volanda, how are you? You're on with Peter Feynman. This is Volanda. CJ's back.
Hi, glad to get you back, CJ.
Thanks.
Listen, Peter. I have a question for you. With respect to the mic now, right now we've got the Karl Roves, we've got the Rice Priebus's. Those people right now are at from what I can see, the party's representatives, and then John Boehner. When will you guys, those of you who are sensible, those of you guys who see the writing on the wall, who see reality, who know how much of a contribution Tea Party elements have made to the party, when do you think you guys are going to take the mic? When do you think you guys are going to have the advantage with respect to the public relations?
Okay.
With respect
All right, good question. First of all, Yolanda, I would separate Reince Priebus from Karl Rove. Okay, Reince Priebus is much more of a grassroots person. Karl Rove clearly does not understand the advantage of new technology. But Karl Rove has American Crossroads. Karl Rove is not the voice of the Republican Party. Guess what? And this is what we got to understand too: is that Rush Limbaugh is not the voice of the Republican Party. The Republican Party is a million different voices from all over the United States. Now, does that mean that Reince can't get better? No, Reince needs to get better. The Republican Party needs to get better. But Karl Rove is not the Republican Party. Rush Limbaugh is not, and neither is Sean Hannity is not the Republican Party. They are voices that reflect, in part, some Republican views. But the Republican Party goes way past all of that. And when we won 48 out of 50 states when Ronald Reagan ran for president, it's because Ronald Reagan appealed to the beer drinking guy in the steel mill. He appealed to the Chardonnay sipping person in the country club. He appealed to the first-generation American, and he appealed to people who were the 80 years old, who were just a little bit younger than he was. So, and that's the message we're going to bring. And it's going to start changing soon. We've got a whole focus study group, a technology group that's meeting over these last couple of months called the Growth and Opportunity Project. And we're getting with the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings, and of which I am not one physically, but I'd like to think I'm one mentally. And we're going to get this party in shape, and here's why. There's an urgency attached to it. It's not about winning an election anymore. It's about winning the country. And so there's a sense of urgency within the Republican Party. You could feel it up in Charlotte when I went there a couple of weeks ago. And that urgency is even more felt when I come do radio shows like this. Yolanda, I hear people like you. I get yelled at, and I appreciate it. But I know why I'm getting yelled at. Because people like you, Yolanda, and the others, you love this country. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. And that's the message that we don't mind hearing.
All right, Volanda, thank you very, very much. I'm going to have to let you go.
Volanda or
Volanda?
Vo with a V. Okay.
I know.
All right.
Volanda, yeah.
All right.
Peter, what year were you born?
70.
70? Okay. You keep referring to Ronald Reagan. That was 37 years ago.
You got to stop feasting on
Okay.
that.
Are we in a museum here? What about 30 years after Ronald Reagan, we had George Bush, number two?
Well, here's why I refer to Ronald Reagan. Because he was a model. You refer to Abraham Lincoln, don't you? You refer to George Washington, don't you? Why? Because they provided role models that are worth following.
But they're historically principled people. Right. They're historically principled people.
Right.
But the policies, we're not implementing the policies of George Washington or Abraham Lincoln.
Maybe we should.
Maybe we should, right. But in terms of the policies, let's take a more contemporary example. 30 years after Reagan, and I was at the Reagan Library a while back. You ever been up there?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Out in
Simi Valley?
California?
Yes, Simi Valley. But let's go with George Bush number two. 30 years after Reagan, 80 was Reagan. Bush was in 2000. 20 years afterwards, right? 20? Yeah, 20 years afterwards. Let's compare George Bush's policies with, if we took his 8 years, what do we have to change, modify, or get rid of with George Bush 2 to move forward?
All right, great question. We have to understand that we have not nominated as a Republican Party a true conservative since Ronald Reagan, and that's the problem. We thought Bubba, George Bush, George Bush.
Bubba was the other guy.
George Bush. The younger, as we call him, was a true conservative, not like his father. It turns out that he fell into the same inside the Beltway trap that a lot of people do. And so we had things like tariffs. We had things like, compassionate conservative, which I hate that. Yeah. CJ said the compassionate conservatism. I hate that expression. You want to know why? Because it assumes as its premise that somehow capitalism or conservative is not compassionate.
Right.
No. So we've already ceded some moral ground on that, which is wrong.
Good point.
Okay, but so Bush let us down. There's no doubt about that. If Bush had done what he was supposed to have done, and the rest of the Republicans in Congress had done what they were supposed to do, which was keep government spending under control, stay out of foreign wars that get out of control. Keep our foreign policy under control. There's ways to control radical Islam, and I'm a huge radical Islamist opponent. But the invasion of Iraq, I can make the argument that was the biggest foreign policy blunder in the history of the United States. Because if you really understand Islam, you'll know that there's a difference between secular Islamists and Sharia Islamists. And you had even though Hussein was an Islamist, he was a secular Islamist, and he opposed the Shias right next door in Iran. And when we knocked out Iraq, that left that cancer to grow, which is called Iranian Shiism.
We had this
crazy
issue about weapons of mass destruction.
Okay,
we had this the other day, and
so
we can argue that
we've got problems. So that's why I go back to Ronald Reagan.
But on the money
the last
side,
time we had a real conservative, even though spending went up under Ronald Reagan.
Yes, it did.
Don't forget, in so many ways, his hands were tied. He had to, first of all, he had a Democrat Senate and a Democrat Congress for a lot of the time, not all the time, and he was vilified in his time for being a heartless person who wanted to put poor people out in the street. It was going to be like a tale of two cities. So he took it about as far as he could. The problem is that his vice president, George Bush the Elder, didn't carry it on. And then our next nominee was Bob Dole. Please. Our next nominee was John McCain. Please. Okay. Between
and then Mitt Romney. We had a Bush
and Romney. The problem why he couldn't articulate what we all feel is that he never really believed in his heart. I don't believe in the conservative philosophy of government. As a result.
I agree with that.
And so when you don't believe that, you can't take the high moral ground on it, and you can't go toe to toe with somebody who truly believes in statism like Obama does.
So is Marco Rubio our future?
I don't know. He's one of them. Okay, he's one of them. But they're all. We've got a great bench.
Guy over there is doing thumbs down like this.
As I said, I don't know, but he certainly has a great story to tell. He's a child of first-generation Americans who sees clearly that the Republican Party is the party for people like him and his parents. I mean, his father was a bartender, his mother.
Yeah, we all know his story.
Dukakis had a similar story.
Yeah, we all know his story.
But let me ask you this: what are you going to do in the Republican Party between now and 2014 and 2014 to 2016? Not talking about who are going to be the superstars of the Republicans as far as candidates go. What is your real message to the American people to attract them to conservative Republican Party, and how are you going to get that message out to them regardless of who the candidates are?
The real message is what
not our cause is freedom, our mission is truth.
Well, the real message is that
should have run that by us.
If you want to talk to Peter Feynman, 888-565-1470, 888-565-1470. 37 minutes past 5 o'clock here on WNN 1470. Tom Trento on TrentoVision.tv. We're welcoming all the Tea Party community people who are watching. We're on your homepage. And Peter, Peter is a local. Yeah, we want you to speak to them, Peter. We have many Tea Party community viewers. Peter is a local attorney, Palm Beach. You've heard us speak about him often. He's our organization's attorney.
Chairman.
He's also one of the leading Republicans in the third largest state in the union, the state of Florida. And he just got back from a big Republican powwow where they just drank bourbon and smoked cigars and had belly dancers all over the place, right? Belly dancers? I heard about the belly dancers.
No, the most exciting thing that happened when I was up in North Carolina is that the University of Miami pummeled Duke, a North Carolina team in basketball.
Okay. But he just got back, and he's relating to us the new winds that are blowing out of the Republican Party to save the world. And if you're a Tea Party person and you got a specific answer for an official of the Republican Party, he's the state committeeman elected, an official of the Republican Party, and you want to know their view on you, a Tea Party member, 888-565-1470. Talk to us, Peter Feynman, about the Tea Party. When I tell you Tea Party, when I say that, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Fiscally conservative patriots who believe that the individual is more important than government, that our power resides and comes from God, not from the government, that our rights come from God, not from the government. And if we don't get our fiscal house in order, this country, which is the greatest nation that's ever been, will be no more. That's the message I hear
that's the
from
message.
Tea
And the image in your mind, the visual image of a male Tea Party guy, is he wearing an Armani suit or overalls?
The first vision I have is the soccer mom who comes out trying to raise kids, probably taking care of her parents at the same time, worried about how the heck her kids are going to survive when they have to get a job facing this mountain of debt that the Democrats are piling on top of us year after year, day after day. That's my first vision. Second vision is a guy in a pitchfork with overalls, okay, who said, I'm mad as hell and I'm not taking it anymore, who feels a loss of control, that they're not listening to him. It's like he's been saying for years, this is not the country that my dad fought for or my grandpa fought for in World War II. This is a country that doesn't believe in the individual, believes that the government's the answer to all the problems. I've been saying that's not true for years, and nobody's paying attention. And guess what? Now you even want to take my guns away. I'm pissed. That's the Tea Party guy.
We launched Tea Party Community right here in this room a couple of weeks ago. I think you nailed it pretty well in terms of what the beliefs and image is. Now, what is the Republican Party?
Here's what Lenny Curry said today in an op-ed that appeared in BizPac Review. He says, quote, through dialogue with a wide variety of conservative leaders, I have learned that the common cause of our time is an unwavering commitment to fiscal discipline and economic opportunity for all. Here's his next sentence. And Tea Party activists are right to expect the leaders they support to live up to those promises. That's a direct
That's pretty good
call
for the state of Florida.
to the Tea Party folks to join us together, arm in arm, march down the street from one sidewalk to the other, right onto Capitol Hill, arm in arm, row after row after row of patriots saying, here we are, what about me?
Okay. Well, all right.
What about me?
All right. I don't know who wrote his speech. He delivered his speech, and maybe did he do it publicly or did he release a release?
It was an op-ed.
Oh, not bad.
It's an
Okay, so he
op-ed.
sat down and wrote it. Okay.
Okay. It reminds me of a song in the 60s that was popular. It was a counterculture song, but I think it applies to Tea Party patriots and those of us in the Republican Party that are true conservatives. And the chorus of it was done by a group called Quicksilver Messenger Service. And the chorus was,
Never hear that?
What you gonna do about me? And that's what I want the government to hear. You poisoned my sweet water, you cut down my green trees. The food you fed my children was the cause of their disease. My world is slowly falling down, and the air's not fit to breathe. And those of us who care enough, we have to do something. What are you going to do about me?
I am a tree. I did a. You got all kinds of poems for us today, but I did. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose bosom heart is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breasts.
Well, it was the song at that
Only
time.
God can make a tree, but poems are made by fools like me. You know who did that one?
Who? Robert Frost.
Joyce Kilmer.
Okay.
I had to recite that in third grade in Newark, New Jersey.
See, back in the 60s, there was a government that wasn't listening to people who were sending, Lyndon Johnson was sending my friends off to a war that nobody understood why we were fighting and what we were doing there. Now we've got a government that's also ignoring us spending money, which is may not kill us right away, but it is going to kill us, and they're not listening. And it's time we rise up again and say, hey, what about me? That for the Democrat leaders to say in Congress we don't have a spending problem boggles my mind. And the fact that the lamestream media does nothing about that, it's like we need to rise up again as people.
All right, well, here, I got something
So
for
as a
you.
Republican, I'm saying, come on, Tea Parties, come on, 912ers,
I got something for you.
come on, Patriots, let's go.
Right on Trento Vision live right now
Right
on the
now.
radio. I got something
Yeah.
for you.
Okay.
Did you watch the Death of the Nation speech the other day?
Obama?
Yeah, the Death of the
I
Nation
watched
speech.
it, but I turned the sound off.
I never can listen.
Okay.
I have not
You can't
watched
get
it.
sucked in by him. It's so disingenuous.
point.
There's so much that goes
Here's
on.
my point. He just says stuff.
Right.
He just says, and then we're going to have beautiful sky all the time. It's going to be blue, and the grass is going to be green, and everybody, the peasants that voted for him. What is the difference between what's the guy's name, the head of the Republican Party, Larry Curry?
Lenny Curry.
Lenny Curry. What's the difference between his words floating out and Lenny's words going out here? I suggest, and you can bring it back to Lenny,
the fact that you could compare my chairman
to
the words of this president is offensive to me. It's offensive to me, Mr. Trento.
I suggest let's put your Republican meat where your money is, or whatever. Put your walk where your talk is. Talk where your walk is. Here's what I suggest. We, Trento Vision, our friends, are very involved with the Tea Party nationally and in the state of Florida. We've just launched a community with 100,000 people. I suggest a summit with Larry and a few operatives in the party and a half a dozen Tea Party leaders in the state of Florida to sit down unofficially, off the books, all of that stuff, and just sit around and discuss. Listen to the Tea Party people. Let us bring in Tea Party people that can share their thoughts, their fears, their impressions, their anger, and it's a good little 2-hour little skull session.
You know, I think that's a great idea. Proving that your grandparents who came from Sicily to come here had smart kids. And my parents who came here from Connecticut had smart kids.
Came here from Connecticut.
No, seriously, Tom, I think that's a great idea. I really do.
You know, and it might get a little tense in there, but out of that will come. That's the
Tense
Hegel's
is good.
dialectic.
Yeah, tense is
boom,
good.
boom. Can you put that? Look into that camera.
Yes.
And tell everybody you will try to put that together.
I will do more than try to put that together. We'll put that together.
All right.
We'll
all
put
right.
that together.
If you want to be in that
'Cause,
meeting,
you know, trying doesn't get it. You know, if two frogs sat in a log and one tried to jump off, how many frogs are on the log? 2. Because trying doesn't get it.
That's pretty. You got all kinds of little ditties today. Let me tell you.
You know,
CJ,
I don't want your job, Mr. Trento. Trust me.
Did you document that we are going to try to have that meeting, or did we document it on the air?
I think we're recording this, right, Invisible Mike?
Yeah, we're recording.
Yep,
Okay.
it's recorded.
All right, I got a text here from somebody. They
That's Mr.
said,
Producer, Mr. Mike.
I got a text from somebody that says,
what Mark Levin says.
Last week, this Friday, a week ago this Friday, we broke a story with John Guandolo, former FBI agent,
right,
who did this analysis of John Brennan, who's up for the CIA, and said he's unfit for duty. He had 3 or 4 key points, and one of them was that he was the target of an IO, an influence operation, by the Saudis, and he eventually converted to Islam. And that thing took off and went all over the place. But yesterday, a story came out that the ambassador from the Catholic nation of Italy, 60 or 70 million people there, mostly Catholics, the ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Catholic Italian ambassador to Saudi Arabia, converted publicly to Islam. The ambassador from Italy
This is bizarre.
to Saudi.
This is completely bizarre.
The Saudis are geniuses at influence operations.
And the Pope quits.
And the Pope quit.
And the Pope quit. Now,
well, that's amazing because Charlie Crist came out and said he was converting to Catholicism because he's going to run for Pope.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So
that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So what have you heard?
Like a fish
Have
in
you,
a boat.
have you heard anything in the Republican Party about the this label now of Brennan being a Muslim Brotherhood supporter and all that?
No, that has not come from anywhere within the Republican Party. So again, it's a tribute to you guys who break these kind of stories. If it wasn't for folks like you, we'd really be in trouble.
Well, you know what's happening now? We've done a lot of this kind of work on the United West side, Florida security side.
Right.
But now that we have a megaphone, I'm getting emails, letters, and calls from the strangest places with stories and with information. And I mean, we're going to need a
Just make sure you vet some of that so your credibility remains
We're going to need an analysis.
You got CJ. She'll keep your butt in line, right, CJ?
Yeah. But the Guandolo one was easy. We're both co-authors.
That's a huge story.
That was very
the
big
fact
story.
that you broke it from here is huge.
That's only because nobody else has
Gary
it.
Bernson, the former CIA official who 25 years, all of that, he published an article in the Daily Caller yesterday about his plan. He suggested that Obama go to Tehran and meet with the Supreme Ayatollah Khamenei, and try to negotiate a situation where they get rid of their nuclear weapons. Now, he called me right after that and said, here's the story I'm doing. I said, come on the show. We had him on the first hour today. Now, before you jump and say, oh, please, this is the guy that he's not just a covert operator for 25 years. He was a station chief in 3 places. He's an Iranian expert. He speaks Farsi.
No, I was saying, oh, please, about the concept of negotiating.
Listen.
It reminds me of Neville Chamberlain, who's going to negotiate with Hitler.
You didn't listen to the show. Listen.
Okay.
We went through all of that. You need to watch the show. But what I think he's doing, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but what I think he's doing, but the point is, he contacted us, and he saw that we're in a position to get, not only do we get the information out on the radio and through Trento Vision, but when we send our videos out, it goes to the thousands of key leaders and activists around the world. So the thing gets out. But I think what he's doing, you know how Obama is going to go to Israel in March, right? I think this is a gigantic global chess game. And I think Gary is simply saying, okay, you're going to put pressure on the Israelis in March to not attack and all of that. All right. Why don't you be the world leader that you won a Nobel Prize for? He even mentioned that. And why don't you take the initiative? And he laid out historic precedent with China and all of this, and Richard Nixon, and at least make the offer to go to Tehran, negotiate with certain conditions, you know, all these things. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think he's mitigating the leverage that Obama will have with the Israelis, so that if the Israelis strike, this gets to be complex, this sort of global politic. If the Israelis strike, then many people in America will say, but hey, there was a movement to have you go to Iran and negotiate something, and you chose not to go, so leave the Israelis alone. You know, don't get down on them. That's what I said. So, yeah.
That's what CJ said.
Well, yeah, but
That's what you said.
yeah, there's
And he said,
that's very
what's
smart.
going on.
There's a backstory.
There's a backstory.
Yes, there's always a backstory.
Well, let me play the devil's advocate for a second on this Muslim thing of our CIA nominee. So what?
2 minutes we got.
So what? We're America. So what? Who cares what religion he is? Okay, so what's the response to that? So what? He's Jewish, he's Catholic, he's evangelical, he's Muslim. So what? That's America.
The so what is, first of all, that as a station chief for this in Saudi Arabia, he was influenced by the Saudi government to convert. So, which is the same as like diplomats in the Soviet Union getting converted to communism. It's the same kind of thing. He was subject of an influence operation by a foreign government while he was representing the United States in that country. That right away makes him unfit. His sympathies and his actions since that time are clearly pro-Muslim Brotherhood and anti-American.
Now you're getting to the heart of it.
And that is what makes it so dangerous.
Okay.
It would be, I mean, the Saudi version, I want to be careful how I say this, the Saudi version of Islam. Saudi version of Islam is the right version of Islam.
Follow the Quran.
Yeah. But the Saudi version is analogous to the German political philosophy of Nazism. Okay, so it would be like a Nazi is
Are
going
you
to
saying
be
that he's a Wahhabist then? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
See, now that's
Sure.
now you're talking.
Sure.
Now you're talking about a supremacist ideology, which now borders into a political ideology
At
as
worst.
opposed to just a religious.
Well, that's the problem.
one.
The problem is there's no bifurcation of Islam as we know. You can't say, like our friend Zudi tries to do, I'm only going to follow the religious part, I'm not going to follow the political part. Islam
Except for even the prayers call for the killing of Jews and Christians. So enjoy your religion.
So if he has converted, he by doctrine, by Islamic doctrine, by direction from Allah, has to implement the political philosophy of Islam. If he does that, that stands in direct opposition to the United States Constitution. So the guy heading top spy agency in the world, believes a philosophy, a religion that is opposed to the country he's trying to serve. How's that work?
There you go. Now we're getting to it.
Figure that one out.
But the thing is, somebody needs to be investigating this
Absolutely.
to determine if
That's
it's
all.
true or not.
Well, didn't
and
the
not to just
Republicans
say
just
that
put a
we're
halt on the
fear
whole thing?
mongers, hate mongers, anti-Muslims, or anything else like that for talking about this story to begin with. How about doing a real
All right, we gotta
background
go.
investigation?
I know. That's how we're going to end this day. Let me give you got 20 seconds to say whatever you want to do.
20 seconds.
Yeah.
All right. I'll say to all patriots, which are not just Republicans, they're not just Tea Party folks, they're not just 912ers, there's even some Democrats included in that, and independents. If you're a patriot and you love this country, the Republican Party is your best bet to save America, which, as described by actually Lincoln before Reagan, the last best hope of man on earth. So come join us. Time's running out. We need you.
Amen. All right. Thank you very much. We'll see you all on Monday. We got to go right now. Thank you, Kenny. We'll see you later.
Thanks for tuning in to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Tom Trento can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. And tune in again weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Mile Marker International encourages parents to add to your child's education with proper information about drug use, drug abuse, and addiction. Informed and understanding parental involvement does make a difference. Remember, if you're not talking to your kids about drugs and alcohol, who is? That's from Mile Marker International Incorporated.